Hello, hello, hello again to the internet world, or the 20 or so of you that actually subscribe to us, and like the 5 of you or 8 of you that will actually watch some part of this. Part. It's okay. We understand. Listening to us for an hour and a half could probably get boring. We try to be entertaining. Not sure we quite make it that far yet.
I mean, you have to be entertained by football at the same time, too, so, you know.
Yeah, if you're not really entertained by football, then you're probably not going to be entertained by most of our content. Anyway, welcome back. It is yet another sports podcast with your bearded brothers. I am here today, Matt.
I'm breathing.
And that's about where we're both at. It's been a week.
Yeah. For playoffs, you would expect better games?
You would expect closer games. We didn't get that.
Yeah.
One game was really close and competitive. Everything else was a one-sided squash fest.
Yeah.
Like, everybody peaked early in the season, and then some teams peaked late, and you could definitely tell who was firing on all cylinders coming into the playoffs, and who was just happy to be there.
And there was also a couple teams that, like, you could tell were in a slump, and they were going down the hill really fucking fast.
One of those teams had no right to be, though.
True. But one of them just,
They've been slumping in the back half of the season.
Yeah, and, oof.
It was bad. But the other team, and we'll get to it, they had won, we'll talk about it, but they'd won 16 straight games at home.
Yeah, that one's also pretty bad. Yeah, that one was pretty bad.
Yeah, that was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Pretty bad. All right. Anyway, so a couple of notes first, because there are a few notes. Not a whole lot, but a few. The first note that I guess that I have, there are some more coaches that no longer have jobs. One chose not to have a job. Theoretically, both of them could be said to have chose not to have a job. So Nick Saban retired as the coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide.
We talked about that last week.
We did not. That didn't come out until, I don't think that came out until the day after.
I feel like we definitely talked about it, but if we didn't, then yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if that happened, but they hired Kiernan, whatever his name is.
I know we didn't know who hired. That was, I know that was definitely after.
Yeah. He was the head coach of the Washington Huskies. He is now the head coach at the University of Alabama. It's going to be very interesting to see what happens there. Washington then hired a coach from Arizona, the head coach from Arizona. Arizona hired the head coach from San Jose State. So, interesting little shuffle there. Now, I know we didn't talk about these other two because they didn't have it until the day after.
Well,
I know one of them for sure. And that's Bill Belichick is no longer.
We definitely talked about the Belichick one.
We did not.
We did. I know for a fact we did because I brought it up because I went, oh yeah, that guy that I had that was in my list last week is all of a sudden not in my list this week because he kindly got fired or let go. We did talk about it. We didn't know who was replacing him, but we did talk about him being gone.
Didn't think that we knew that he got fired.
Yeah, we knew. It was like right before we got on we knew about it.
Okay, well,
yeah,
because I knew Arthur Smith was one guy that we knew.
Yeah. We didn't talk about his replacement because we didn't know his replacement.
Well, we now know his replacement, and it will not be Mike Vrabel, as like many might have suspected. It is Gerard Mayo,
yes,
who played linebacker for them there, and then it stayed on as a member of the coaching staff. And apparently, there is rumor that he may have, had that written into his contract.
Supposedly,
nobody knows.
Nobody knows 100%.
He is the new head coach.
He had been the heir apparent for a while, apparently.
Yeah.
So.
And also, they did offer to let Belichick's 2 sons stay on as coaching staff. I don't know if they took that. There is no word on that I found. If his dad does take up another job, because he has had an interview with Atlanta.
Yep.
And I believe the Chargers have done the first interview with Harbaugh.
Yeah, they finished that. I don't know if they've requested an interview from Bill yet.
But those
I'm a little shocked by that, actually.
Those have definitively happened. And I don't think we had him. I don't think we knew the day of. But Pete Carroll has also been kicked upstairs by what he has.
Didn't hear about that yet.
Yeah, we have not talked about that. Pete Carroll is no longer the head coach of the Seahawks. He has been. I don't know if he accepted the offer or not, but he was.
It sounds like he kind of maybe did.
And it also sounds like he kind of maybe didn't.
Yeah.
But either way, they asked him to take an office position with the team, and he went on a podcast and gave an interview and said that the decision was made by non-football people.
Well, that, and then also during his interview that he had with it, they asked him about it, and he said that he fought to have the job, that he wanted the job to stay as coach, basically.
Yeah, and they told him that wasn't going to happen.
And they basically went no.
Now, the GM has come out and said that he's been given a very simple and clear directive for the next coach, and that is to maintain the positive culture in the organization.
You know how you do that?
You let Pete Carroll keep coaching.
You keep Pete Carroll there.
That should be a no-duh, but...
I hate to say it, but Pete Carroll is the Seahawks. Like, he built that culture and that organization from the ground up, damn near. You remember the Seahawks before Pete Carroll? They were fucking nothing.
Well, they had a couple of good years.
Yeah, but they had
with Mike Holmgren
for several years. Yeah.
Yeah, they had some good years with Mike Holmgren. They made the playoffs a couple of times, but they were not. They were never Super Bowl champions until Pete Carroll came along.
They never really had that big of a culture at that time. And then, of course, a lot of people forget, Legion of Boom. That was Pete Carroll.
That was Pete Carroll.
Like, he brought that culture. He built that kind of culture for that organization. Mm-hmm. Because prior to that, they didn't really have much of a culture. Mm-hmm. He turned them into something else.
Now, the only other the one that I would find interesting, that I could find humorous and unique, a coach that I think would be interesting to go over there would be if they got Harbaugh.
Yeah, I think that would be the only way that would work, is because Harbaugh kind of has a similar culture in a way of, like, he just a guy coming from college who likes to be a goof.
And not only that, he coached at Stanford, which is Northern California.
Yeah.
And not too far from Seattle, so he's got ties in the area.
Yeah.
So that would at least, he knows the area.
Carroll came from USC, so.
Yeah. So that whole thing could work. I don't know if that's where he's going to wind up, but
it sounds like he's honestly the Chargers one does make a lot of sense for Harbaugh.
It does if he leaves Michigan, which I don't.
If he leaves Michigan,
I don't 100% know that he would do that either.
It's funny because every year we hear about Harbaugh possibly coming back to the NFL, doing interviews for coaching jobs, and then ends up just staying at the college.
Yep.
It's
because he knows what he wants. And if you're not going to give it to him, I have what I want here, why would I leave?
And then every year he's like, okay, I'm definitely not going to go in the NFL this time. This time I'm going to stay college. And then it's like this carousel of, is he or won't he? He acts like he doesn't know, but he does know. He knows exactly what he wants, but he doesn't know exactly how he wants to get it. Like, that's kind of what it feels like.
The thing is, he knows exactly what he wants. He just don't know of anybody. He doesn't know of anybody out in the NFL would be willing to give it to him. Because the last time, what sank him in the NFL was...
Dude, it was a GM. The GM.
Yeah, it was him and the GM did not get along. He had a different view from the GM. And he got into a power struggle with the front office and lost.
Which turned out to be a mistake at first that ended up becoming a blessing because they managed to eventually get an amazing coach that now has total control of that entire team.
Yeah, and they probably
because they learned their lesson from the first time.
Yeah, so they had to learn that the hard way, though. But he also learned, I'm not going to get into a power struggle with a GM. I'm going to have total control over my roster, and if you don't like that, then you're not going to hire me.
Yeah, he either has to be a coach that works with a GM where the GM goes, I'll let you kind of run things your way, or he has to be a coach GM. And I don't know how that would work for him. Like, we've seen it be successful, obviously. Bill Belichick, the prime example, obviously. But, like...
Most of the times that doesn't work out well.
Most of the time it doesn't tend to work out.
Most of the times it tends to work out like the dude in Houston.
Yeah. It's kind of sad that everyone kind of forgot his fucking name already. But I can picture him. I can see his fat fucking white face.
Yep, and now he's back in New England. He
was with the Patriots. I don't know if he still is. Is he?
I thought he was an OC in New England.
Is he still the OC there?
I don't know. Maybe they canned him when Bill Belichick left and Gerard Mayo got promoted.
I have no idea. I have no idea. He might still be there. Whatever his name is. I can picture his damn face, but
Was it Callahan?
No. No, that's not what it was.
I know it was like a 3-part name.
Are you sure?
No.
I don't think it was.
I know he came from Penn State though too. He was a head coach at Penn State.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I can picture his dumb face, but I. Yep. Nope. I can't.
Nope.
It's not coming. It's not coming to my. It's not coming to my brain.
Nope. I'm 44 now. That doesn't work anymore.
Nope. I don't need to remember his face. Oh, Bill O'Brien. There we go.
B.O.B.
Yep, Bill O'Brien.
See, I told you it was a 3-part name.
It was. I just had to think about it for a while. Fucking Bill O'Brien. That idiot, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. All right, well, that's big news. I guess there's been some injuries, but one of the major injuries, unfortunately, is a team that they're not in the playoffs anymore. So
no, but his knee got fucking whacked.
Yeah, Tyler Higbee.
Oh
they have determined that is a blown ACL. I don't know. That might bleed into next season for that poor guy.
Nowadays, ACLs typically are done within 6 to 8 weeks. It feels like he'll probably be good for training.
Yeah, but I was thinking about look what happened to Kyler.
Yeah, that was a little longer, but that was more than just an ACL. That was, I thought, like a whole entire MCL ACL.
I don't know if that was the trifecta or not.
I thought he trifected it. Either way, I don't think it'll bleed into next year. I think he'll be ready for training camp. If it's not training camp, he should be ready for the start of the season.
Yeah,
to be honest with you.
Yeah. Outside of that, there isn't. The only other news that we could talk about is Wander Franco. If you've been paying any attention to baseball, and
nope,
he was in jail in Puerto Rico.
Oh, okay.
Or somewhere. Because he's accused of all kinds of domestic violence and stuff.
Oh. Okay.
But I that whole thing. That's a saga that's currently ongoing right now.
Don't beat people up.
I don't even know if he did it. There's an accusation, but I don't know if there's any evidence.
Okay.
I haven't followed it that closely.
I'll still stand by the fact that
you shouldn't.
Don't
beat
people
people
up.
up.
You shouldn't do it anyways. Hopefully you didn't do it, but if you did, don't do that. What the hell? Anyways.
Also.
Oh, wasn't that guy that got signed by the Cubs? That Japanese player, another Japanese player got signed.
Yeah,
by the Cubs
there was another
recently?
Japanese player that got signed by the Cubs, and because we didn't talk about it last week, I don't remember when it happened, but it was fairly recently. We can talk about it. Cheetah must have been moving so fast, his house caught fire.
I did not hear about that. Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. His house caught fire. They have determined it was an unintended child with a cigarette lighter.
I was gonna say it's a lighter, right?
Yep,
it's almost always a lighter.
It's always a lighter. But yeah, his house caught fire. He and his entire family are fine. I don't know how much damage was done to the house. I assume it's a big house.
Yeah, probably only a wing of the house, probably, right?
Yeah. But yeah, there was a big story on it about ESPN that unfortunately his house caught fire before the playoffs.
I want to know why the hell a child got a hold of a lighter, but
it happens, man.
I guess you never know.
Yeah, it happens. You know how handsy we are when we were kids.
I was pretty good. I was pretty good when it came to fire and shit.
Anything with fire. I wanted to look. I wanted to see it more.
I wasn't like that until I was a teenager. When I was a kid, I hated the fire because it hurt me once. I got burned by it and was like, ah!
No, I never had that problem. I loved fire.
Yeah, not until a teenager. When I was a teenager, I loved setting shit on fire.
I
still like
kind
setting
of
shit on
grew
fire.
out of
What are you
it by
talking about?
then. I kind of grew out of it by then when I was a
Oh
teenager.
no, I still like setting shit on fire. Fireworks.
And
Hell yeah, let's
these
fucking
days,
go.
I'm not a big fireworks fan because after
Yeah,
you've set
no.
off a claymore mine and thrown some live grenades, like fireworks just aren't a thing that you care about anymore.
Nope, I still love it. I love the shit out of it. But different life experiences.
Different life experiences, man.
We'll just leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that.
I still like burning shit too, but that's a different story.
I can still I like it when I'm like getting ready to cook
Like a
something.
bonfire and shit.
Oh, like a
man.
bonfire is so much fun,
love that
especially
shit.
like once you burn it down and you make it into like a cooking fire, and you can get some marshmallows out of it, some hot dogs and shit.
Yeah. I just like fires, man.
But a big bonfire is fun too. Just like one where
Big
everybody
bonfires
can
are
sit around and you've all got like a beer or something, and you're all chilling and you're just telling stories.
And then always there's that one asshole who wants to throw gasoline on the fire.
Always, every time,
Every time.
every
You get
time.
a little too drunk and you let him do it, and then all of a sudden things end up being...
Things end up getting out of control, and then you're taking him to the emergency room because he burned the shit out of his arm. Yep. Or he burned his eyebrows off.
Typically, he just burned his eyebrows off, and then you
Yep.
just laugh at him.
I actually knew a guy that burned his eyebrows off once. Not because of a gasoline on a fire.
Aww.
Oh, no, this story is much better. I'll tell it real quick before we go further because I think it's a good story. So, I have to start by by putting out a thing that says that MRE heaters... for
Nope,
90
go on.
for 90% of people that have no idea how they work, they are, you pour water into the bottom of them, you rip up at the top, you pour water into the bottom of them, and then they produce an exothermic reaction.
Yep, you gotta seal it up.
However, the byproduct of the exothermic reaction is a wonderful gas called hydrogen.
It's quite
Now,
hot.
Now, we went to Poland.
Oh, okay.
Army. Cold. We went to Poland in the fucking winter.
Ugh.
Oh,
Okay.
God.
It's
So,
a great place, though.
oh, yeah, very pretty. But, in order to keep warm on guard duty, how do you think we did that?
Well, you normally would have like those heat packs that you could. Those
Nah,
would
we didn't
normally-
bother with that. We did what's called rat fucking.
I'm just gonna say that's a really poor term, but go ahead.
Well, because you never see a rat how it fucks shit up. It doesn't take everything. It only takes what it wants, right? So if you've ever seen something a rat's gone through, it just sort of throws shit everywhere until it finds what it's looking for. That's what we would do with the MREs. We would take the heaters,
No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
and then, so Gore-Tex has what's called a map pocket. And it's right about here, and it's a big
It's a
pocket.
pretty big pouch.
Yeah. So we would put MRE heaters in there and let them blow up on our face to keep us warm on the middle of the night in guard duty. But you kind of forget they were there,
Which is the mistake, obviously.
which is the mistake. And then one of our buddies goes, "Hey, man, I'll be right back. I'm going to go get a smoke."
Oh no! Hydrogen gas and fire. Yay!
Whoomph!
Yep.
No eyebrows and lost the front of his hair. They had to come down with a command memo that said we weren't allowed to do that. We weren't allowed to put the MRE heaters in our pockets anymore.
To be fair, you probably shouldn't have in the first place.
Probably
Yeah.
not, but it wasn't hurting anybody until that dumbass forgot he had them in there and decided to light up a cigarette.
I'm surprised he didn't take more damage outside of that, to be honest.
It's not enough hydrogen gas to do that. And
No,
you're
I know,
outside
but
and everything else. The
I'd
other
be more
thing,
worried about it
now,
getting into like the pocket and burning the
no,
jacket and then causing that,
no. The other thing that everybody has to know is it is possible to makeshift CS gas out of an MRE heater.
Don't do it, though.
And out of the MRE.
Definitely don't do that.
Actually, the most fun we used to have...
Very illegal. Don't do that.
It's not illegal.
Well, it would be for us.
Yeah, well, we used to do it in the military.
Chemicals. You're not supposed
Because
to.
you could pour the water in there a little bit, and then you spice it up with the Tabasco sauce. And then you throw it into a tent. The other thing that people used to do, so there used to be, like the new tents have heating units that are outside, and then they pipe in the heating. The old the old ones have a potbelly stove that sits in the middle of the tent. So what people used to do is pour some of the Tabasco sauce in their hand and then walk by the heater and just throw it onto the potbelly stove and just walk out. Give it like 2 minutes.
Dick
Everybody's coming out of the tent like, motherfucker.
Dick move. I was gonna say,
Total dick move. Hilarious, but a dick move. Gas out a whole tent.
Some of the shit I heard that the military people do to each other, I'm just like, man, you guys commit constant war crimes to each other. Like, what the fuck?
Let me see here. We've taped people into porta-johns and then used forklifts to move the porta-john.
Yep, I've heard of that.
We've taped people to cots and then moved the cot into the motor pool.
Yep, I've heard that.
We bleached a guy and washed him with brooms.
That's a bit cruel, but yep, I feel like I've heard of something similar to that.
And then punishments, we had a guy sweep sunshine off the sidewalk. We had a dude mop the rain.
I heard that one. Yep, I heard that one too.
Give a guy a ball-peen hammer and tell him he has to go around and where the armor sounds different on a tank, he has to mark it so that the welders can get to it. You'll sometimes see privates jumping up and down on the front of tanks to check the shocks.
Yep. I also heard of one where you had I think there was one guy that had to, in the ammunitions, had to go through, like, the spent cartridges one by one from one bucket to the next bucket to make sure there was no live ammo in the bucket.
If you screw up bad enough, that's how they do it, yes.
Yep.
Normally what they do is they have like 4 or 5 of you around a table and they pour all the spent cartridges onto the table and you sort through them all together like a big game of like Hungry Hungry Hippos.
Yep.
Yeah. That's how that
bad enough to
usually
do that
works.
by yourself.
Yeah, it's like some of the stuff that we do to each other, like you really don't want to be the enemy of the United States Army because all of that irregular stuff we do to each other, we're willing to turn it up to 10 to take care of you.
I heard one of my friends says that in basic, whenever one of the guys would screw up real bad, they would stuff a sock with other socks and then hit him with it.
That's what they do now. It
used to be a bar of soap. I know you can't do that
no more.
My
basic, it was a bar of soap.
Yeah, they don't let you do that no more.
Or if you got really effed up, it was a padlock.
Ooh, yeah, that one's like if you really fucked up the whole entire thing.
And that one is like if you're trying to hurt somebody so that they have to get cycled out of your cycle because they keep screwing up. Yeah. Probably shouldn't be saying that, but...
They don't let you do that no more.
No.
Now it's the socks one, which is just like, you know, a bundle of socks inside of another sock. You wouldn't think would hurt, but if you get hit hard enough with it,
if you twist it up hard enough and you compact it down, it'll hurt.
Yeah.
Anything will hurt if you know what you're doing.
Yeah, it'll sting hard enough. Like, at this point, it won't leave bruises, but it certainly is going to hurt.
Sometimes it's all about where you hit, too.
That, too, yep.
Yep. So. One night, we saran-wrapped a dude into his bunk.
Yeah, I've heard of that before. I know somebody who got duct taped to theirs.
No, we saran-wrapped him. And then the best part was when the drill sergeants came in the morning to wake us up, nobody cut him free. We just left him there.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just sitting there going, guys! The
drill sergeant he walked all the way down, saw him, turned around, walked back. The guy's going, "Rrr, rrr." And the drill sergeant goes, would one of you assholes cut him free? And just walked off.
Nope.
They didn't care. Like, they understood that we were policing ourselves. If you're going to fuck up, we're going to find a way to fuck with you.
Yep, you're going to get hazed.
Also...
Don't necessarily agree with it, but that's the way it is.
We have no problems introducing you to a game called Shovel Tag.
Ooh.
So anybody that doesn't know, the entrenching tool in the United States Army has a serrated edge on it, like a machete, in order to clear vegetation.
It's really good at breaking branches.
Yeah. So, anyway, I think we've gotten a little off topic, but we had some fun talking about that, didn't we?
Yeah, military people are fucked up. Don't piss off a military person.
Don't piss off a veteran either, because we will do some irregular ass weird shit that you do not see coming.
Oh yeah, you'll get pranked, but it won't be a normal kind of prank. It'll be you're gonna feel the pain kind of prank.
And when it's over, you're gonna just go, "Why would you think that was funny?" Because it is.
Because for them it is. For everyone else, it doesn't make any sense.
All right. We should probably talk about Wild Card Weekend, shouldn't we?
I mean, it's probably better than talking about fragging. So yeah.
Yeah. All right. Wild Card Weekend. Wild Card Weekend. Boy, was it a wild weekend, but also a boring
Not
weekend.
really. It was kind of boring. The games were
Not good.
mostly not good. There was a couple of good games here and there.
I
but
believe
most
you
of
did
them-
the early game on Saturday, didn't you?
I did cover the early game on Saturday.
All right, so let's talk about that. Did you get the so cow? We're gonna keep our little tally here going.
I even got the totals down this time. I remembered to write down the scores.
Yay!
Hell yeah. So the early game Saturday was Browns versus the Texans. The Texans ended up beating the Browns 14-45.
And we both picked the Texans.
I thought you picked the Browns on that one, did you not?
No, I picked the Texans as well.
I thought because I remember I thought you debated it and you weren't sure.
I did, and then I was like, nah, you know what? I'm gonna go with the Texans.
But yeah, so there's some fun stat line here, specifically the QBs. So I think these stats are kind of hilarious. So Joe Flacco, 34 of 46, which is absolutely ridiculous to ask him to throw that much. But if you understand what happened in that game, they had to come back from a deep margin very quickly, so their only option was to throw the fucking ball. And it just didn't really work out super well for him. 307 yards total passing, 100 touchdowns, Jesus Christ, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. Kareem Hunt ran the ball 8 times for 26 yards, 1 touchdown, caught the ball 5 times for 9 yards and a touchdown. So Kareem Hunt getting the short yardage touchdowns, which is what he's kind of known to do. Jerome Ford had 9 rushing attempts for 17 yards. And David Njoku had 7 receptions for 93 yards. Harrison Bryant had 4 receptions for 65 yards. Amari Cooper had 4 receptions for 59 yards. Pretty quiet, unfortunately, for him. And David Bell had 8 receptions for 54 yards. Now, in comparison, we're going to look at the Texans. And the stat line, if you remember, Joe Flacco, 34, 46, 307, 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. CJ Stroud, 16 of 21, 274 yards, and 3 touchdowns. I think it's absolutely hilarious that he had half as many pass completions as Joe Flacco and had only 25 yards less in passing yards. That kind of really speaks of how this game went. Like, he didn't have to pass a lot because they moved down the field very quickly. Davis Mills threw the ball 1 time for 6 yards. Devin Singletary showed up again, 13 rushing attempts for 66 yards and 1 touchdown. It's very clear to me that I think Singletary has taken over RB1 duties off of Dameon Pierce. Considering the fact, Dameon Pierce literally touched the ball, I think, like 4 times this game
Something
for 9
like
yards.
that. It wasn't very much.
So
I almost
think
expect him to
Singletary
be traded in the offseason.
Yeah, Singletary is their guy, which is funny because if you remember, one of the things we complained about with the Bills was their running game was crap. Guess where Singletary came from? The Buffalo Bills.
Apparently, they didn't know how to use him.
They didn't know how to use him. But the thing is, we've talked about this before. It wasn't their running back that was a problem. It was their O-line having absolutely no rushing defense at all. Like, they could not make holes for any of their running backs. Cook, I think their Cook is really good. But, like, quite often you'll see him get tagged in the backfield before he even gets to a hole. So, but
They
we're
need to
getting
get a drill
sidetracked.
sergeant to teach them how to make a hole.
Pretty much. We're getting sidetracked.
Yeah, okay.
Nico Collins, 6 receptions for 96 yards, 1 touchdown. Nico Collins doing Nico Collins things. Brevin Jordan had 1 reception for 76 yards and 1 touchdown. John Mechie had 3 receptions for 44 yards. Dalton Schultz had 1 reception for 37 yards and a touchdown. Steven Nelson and Christian Harris each had an interception off of Joe Flacco. So, yeah, like I said, nearly the same amount of yardage for throwing, half as many pass attempts. When you can move down move down the field that quickly and getting that many points as quickly as they did, like, the Browns just couldn't answer, and the Browns were relying on their defense that came sorely short of what was expected of them. Early on, the Texans found basically a foothold and just kicked their teeth in and didn't let off the gas the entire game. until the very end when they pulled Stroud and put Davis Mills in for like the last 5 minutes of the game.
Pretty much. Pretty much. You want to hear a fun stat?
Go ahead.
CJ Stroud was born in 2001.
God, that makes me feel old.
Joe Flacco was drafted in 2008.
Fair enough.
Yeah, they're like, when CJ Stroud was 7 years old, Joe Flacco was starting his first games for the Baltimore Ravens.
Yep.
That is the age difference between the two quarterbacks.
Quite a bit of an age difference. We'll see what the Browns do next year. It sounds like they'll run with Deshaun Watson as their QB, because that's been real fucking successful for them.
I don't know that they have much of a choice considering how much money they're paying him.
No, I agree with that, but at the same time, like, yeah, if you're the Browns, you realize that that was a horrible decision. Outside of just the PR nightmare that came with it, the amount of money you guaranteed that guy was big oof.
Big oof. Okay, so moving right along, the next game was Dolphins at Chiefs. That game, everybody looked cold. Everybody looked cold.
To be fair, it was cold.
To be fair, it was cold. I believe it is the fourth coldest game in NFL history. Which,
I mean, to sum it up, it was so cold that Patrick Mahomes got hit in the helmet once.
And it
pieces
broke.
of the helmet broke off. Like, not like the helmet itself just cracked, because we've seen that before. No, pieces actually came out of the helmet.
Yep, shot right off the helmet. And then the maker of the helmet said,
a new one.
The maker of the helmet said, well, it did its job. At least it wasn't his head.
To be fair, it was the first time I've ever seen pieces come off of the helmets before. And it has to do, like, everyone that I've talked to about it, everyone's convinced that it had to do to that extreme cold.
Oh, yeah. 100%. So let's talk some stats real quick, and then we'll get into the overall game. Tua, 20 of 39, 199 yards, a touchdown, and a pick, 2 sacks, 11 yards. Mostert, 8 carries, 33 yards. Tua, 3 carries, 25 yards. Waddle, 1 carry, 9 yards. Achane, 6 carries, 9 yards. Everybody was so cold that the speed froze.
Yeah.
Tyreek Hill, the cheetah, 5 for 62 and a touchdown. That touchdown, though, was all him. Like,
oh yeah,
Tua hit him, and he just refused to not score.
Yeah.
The
only score they'd get the entire game.
Cedric Wilson, 2 for 37. Waddle, 2 for 31. Yeah, people could not catch in this game because the ball was entirely too cold.
It was frozen. It was like a rock.
It was frozen, like a rock. And yet they still tried to throw it 39 times.
That's because their rushing game wasn't doing anything.
Their rushing game was doing precisely dick.
Yeah.
So, flipping to the other side. Mahomes, 23 of 41. They threw it more times. But he got 262 yards and a touchdown out of it. Pacheco, though, ran 24 times for 89 yards and a touchdown. Yeah. He was a monster in this game, running and just moving the ball. Mahomes scampered 2 times for 41 yards. One of those I just went, oh, they're just going to leave the middle of the field open for him, huh?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 7 for 21. Rashee Rice, welcome to the playoffs, 8 for 130 and a touchdown. It
took him a while, but he finally got a good game. Jeez.
They had no answer for him. Also, had almost no answer for Kelsey, 7 for 71 and no touchdowns, but that's okay.
Game close a couple times.
Speaking of Kelsey, I'm going to interrupt this game broadcast to let you know. Well, no, we'll talk about it when we talk about the Eagles game.
I was going to say, we got an
Let's talk about the Eagles game to talk about it. But yeah, those were the big guys to catch passes. There were a few others, but nothing major. And Edwards-Helaire fumbled and lost it. Creed Humphrey fumbled. Pacheco fumbled and recovered, and Mahomes recovered. I believe it was Humphreys. The interception came via Mike Edwards, and Patrick Mahomes was not sacked. So, just like we said, not having the linebackers and some of their rush that they've had this season definitively hurt Miami. And not being able to win that final game to get that home playoff game in Miami really hurt. I think if they would have been in the Bills' position and had a home playoff game against Pittsburgh, they probably win that game.
They certainly have a better opportunity to win that game.
Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, they didn't win that home playoff game to face Pittsburgh. Instead, they lost.
Got schmacked one and done.
And they are one and done. People are beginning to question whether or not Tua should be the answer in Miami. And I'm going to say, look at his season. He had a really good season.
Yeah, he had a great season. I don't think... it's the same thing with like people looking at the coaches and stuff. I think that this was a Miami's team that dealt with injuries here and there that were very damaging for quite a bit of time. I think that they could have won more games, which would have cemented their, ability to have an early first round and potentially, make a good run. In fact, they had, Achane go down for a bit. They had Tyreek go out for a bit. They had Waddle who went down a couple times here and there. Like, you don't have those injuries, and you're looking at what, maybe 2 or 3 more game wins, and maybe you're looking at having a much higher seed in the playoffs. Who knows? At least getting home field advantage, right? So I don't think Tua is an amazing quarterback. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a good, definitely above average quarterback who happens to have a really good team around him right now. He's got amazing wide receivers right now. He's got good running backs for most of the time. And his O-line has done a pretty good job of protecting him this year compared to last year. So I think that he's definitely competent enough as is that there's no reason to move off of that and potentially jeopardize having a worse team overall. He's definitely playing well. He's not my favorite QB, but he's certainly good. To find an upgrade for him would be very difficult. The one rumor I heard, which is absolutely not going to happen, was somebody mentioned them trying to get Kirk Cousins, and I would say that would be a very lateral move in my opinion. The only difference is that Kirk Cousins can't move as much as Tua does, and Kirk Cousins maybe has a slightly better deep ball. So yeah, you get away with mobility for a better deep ball and a slightly stronger arm, but you lose the mobility. It's a lateral move. You're not really upgrading.
So I want to take the moment to dovetail in on this. Because it's been circulating, and I've seen people lambasting what some of us are asking for in a Vikings quarterback. And I want to clear the air. I know nobody's going to see this, but I don't care. I feel like it needs to be said. People are saying that truly mobile quarterbacks, guys that run a lot, there's not a lot of those that have won Super Bowls. And they're right. But I'm not asking for Lamar or Cam or anybody like that. I want a Mahomes.
Yeah.
I want a Tua. I want a guy who can move. A Herbert. He doesn't need to break off 20-yard runs, 30-yard runs, 50-yard runs. He doesn't need to be a Josh Allen.
Just get out of the pocket once in a while.
Just get out of the pocket and be able to move
just
enough to extend the play. Kirk can't do that. And that's what we're talking about. I don't need a Justin Fields. I need a guy who's got a good arm, but who's also got some legs that can scamper out of the pocket and can make something happen. Yeah. Doesn't need to be looking to run. Needs to be looking to throw, but can move.
Yeah. He feels
evade
the
a rush, extend a play.
Evade out of the quarterback, yeah.
Yeah. So, wanted to say that. All right.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do the next, because I had the next 2 early ones, so do you just want me to...
Well, I have... Yeah, I have the 2 later ones.
Yeah, you have Rams, Lions, and Eagles, Bucks, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So you just want me to launch into the next early game?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So the early game on Sunday, Packers at Cowboys. We both picked the Cowboys. Boy, did we forget that they are basically the Toronto Maple Leafs of the NFL.
I was hoping that, this was the better season that they've had even in the past. I was like, this is one of their best seasons they've had.
They have won, up until this point, 16 straight games at home. They are the only team with a home game to lose. So, the Packers beat the Cowboys. And don't let this score deceive you. 48-32. Don't let that score deceive you. This game was not close. Ever.
Nope.
Ever. The Packers finally let off the gas, and the Cowboys got a couple of garbage time touchdowns.
I was going to say, they literally doubled the score in the fourth quarter.
Literally, yeah. So, going into the beginning of the fourth quarter, early on, the Packers scored. Romeo Doubs would get a touchdown to make it 48-16. That should have been the end of that game. That should have been the score. But, they let them get a touchdown and a 2-point, and then a touchdown and a 2-point to bring it to 32 points.
Yep.
Still, let's talk some stats. This game made me mad. I did not want to watch this game after a little while.
I agree.
Jordan fucking Love. 16 of 21, 272 yards, 3 touchdowns, no sacks. God damn it.
It's almost like he looks really good when you don't put pressure on him.
Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones.
Aaron.
21 carries, 118 yards, 3 touchdowns.
Couldn't stop him.
Couldn't stop him. Ran through Dallas like they didn't exist.
Tissue paper.
Romeo Doubs. 6 receptions, 151 yards, and a touchdown. Luke Musgrave. 3 for 52. Dontavian Wicks, 2 for 25 and a touchdown. Both Musgrave and Wicks had touchdowns. This was a one-sided, masochistic beating of a team. This was the Packers still proving that they are the Cowboys' daddy.
It was weird because if you watch the Packers throughout the entire season, you go, what the fuck is this team? And then you watch that and you go, what the fuck just happened?
Very much so. They would sack Dak 4 times, and they would pick him off twice. One of them for a touchdown. Darnell Savage picked him off, went 64 yards for the score. Jair Alexander also had a pick. Now let's talk about the Cowboys. Dak, 41 of 60. 403 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks, 4 sacks for 16 yards. Why did he have to throw it so many times? Probably because Pollard only carried the ball 15 times for 56 yards.
I was going to say, yeah.
And a touchdown. Dak did run 6 times for 45. Look, Dak tried. Dak tried to do everything.
That's the problem, though. You can't be asking. I feel bad for Dak the more I watch him play and the more I watch this Cowboys team because they literally put everything on him every goddamn game.
Their defense couldn't do shit.
Or, I was going to say it's either Dak or it's freaking, this season it was like Dak plus, wide receiver. What's his fucking name? CD Lamb, yeah. But it's always Dak and somebody every single time.
Speaking of which, CD Lamb, 9 catches, 110 yards.
Tried to do what he was doing the rest of the season.
Michael Gallup, 6 for 103. Jake Ferguson, 10 catches, 93 yards, all 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Brandon Cook, 6 for 47. Tony Pollard, 7 receptions for 29 yards. Look, they were doing everything through the air. They were trying so hard, and it just didn't work. Their defense couldn't have stopped a cold in a fucking desert.
Yeah, they can't be at like. I get that, like, Dak's really good and their air game is what's really good. That's fine, but like, if your run game can't even set up a good offense, like, that run game was piss poor, and that defense just looked like they were stuck in a paper bag and couldn't get out.
So
Like,
I don't know what the problem is, and I don't know what has to change there, but something has got to change. I just don't know what it is. I don't know if it's McCarthy. I don't know if it's Dak. I don't know if they need a different running back. I don't know. I literally am flummoxed and lost as to what Dallas needs. Some part of me says you need to bring in a coach that's going to give these guys... You need to bring in a Dan Campbell coach. Somebody that's going to motivate these dudes to run through a brick wall even when they don't want to.
yeah, I don't know, man. It's hard to say. Like, a lot of people are talking about Dan Quinn possibly becoming the Seahawks coach next year, right? I've heard that being a big rumor recently.
He did coach that defense when it was the Legion of Boom.
Yeah, but man, if I'm the Seahawks organization, I look at that game and go, "What the fuck was going on with that defense?" And your defense in general this year, you're gonna tell me that defense this year has looked that good? Like, they've had moments.
And that's the problem. If you even look back when he was head coach of the Falcons, like his first year, the defense was good, everything was going good, the team was good, and then they regressed hard for 2 years, and he got whacked because of that.
I just don't understand that defense looked lost until the fourth quarter, and then even then it was way too little too late. Like, I don't know if it's players just getting down on themselves and needing a leader to help prop them up. I don't know if that's... Dak seems like a perfectly good leader from everything I've heard, so I don't know why that would be a problem.
I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. I don't know why they get like that. I don't know what the problem is. And to me, these teams, the Cowboys, and I say this as not a Cowboys fan, but now I'm beginning to feel sorry for them.
Yeah, it's getting to a point where I'm more confused watching them, because like, they're really good in the regular season almost every year, and then they flummox it in the playoffs every year. Like, I just...
And to me, all of these teams have one common denominator.
I mean, recently it's been Dak, but I don't know what else it is.
Jerry Jones.
I know, but at the same time, like, he's been... Like, you look at the drafting and stuff, he's not like he's doing a bad job either.
No, so he hasn't been. Like, he's been getting good pieces. Like, I can't even be mad at the pieces he's drafted, like CeeDee Lamb and Dak and all of that. Micah Parsons. Like,
Ezekiel Elliott, like...
Ezekiel Elliott for a couple of years, anyway.
For a couple of years, yeah.
Yeah, look, they were not bad pieces. I can't look at anything else.
It's almost like the pieces by themselves are good, but for some reason, whenever they're all on the board at the same time, it's like they just don't work together for some reason.
Exactly. And I don't know if you need a coach that could make that happen, or what I don't know what it is. I don't know.
It's an enigma inside of an enigma.
The only other thing I could say is I saw somebody who said it was a guy. Oh, God. I can't remember who it was, but it was one of their big edge rushers. And he left, and he wound up in Baltimore for a little bit. And he said the difference is you see Jerry Jones every day. When I was in Baltimore, I saw the team owner maybe twice. The GM maybe twice, 3 times.
Right.
Like, they let the coaches do their thing. They weren't in there muddling the message and messing things up.
Right.
So maybe seeing the owner and GM that often and having that free of access to him gives the players a different view of things, and so they don't listen to the coach as much. That's the only thing that I can make sense out of, but even then, I'm not sure that I'm right. Like,
I'm not sure. Yeah, because even I'm thinking about that, thinking, in some ways you'd rather see the owners on occasion, because then, like, they care. They're showing up because they want to.
But at the same time, you can also understand where that could be distracting.
depends on the context of what the owners are doing. If they're just there to watch and they're not really saying anything, then I don't think that's really distracting. Now, if they're getting in the way of coaching and they're coming up and talking, like if they're just coming up and even just talking to you and trying to be encouraging, that's fine. But I guess if they're coming in and like it seems like they're trying to coach too, then might be an issue. But he doesn't seem like the type of person.
No, I don't
think
he seems like that. But the problem is, I have to look back and say the last time that his teams won a Super Bowl, because they did win one with Switzer, but most of their Super Bowl victories came with Jimmy Johnson. And then he came out and said, I could get a monkey to coach this team and it would still make the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He's kind of been
proving ever since. With a monkey paw?
So, I think...
Did he monkey paw curse himself?
I think he cursed himself. I think that's the only thing I can think of. He fed the universal line and it went, oh, really? Okay.
No matter what coach you put in here, that you'll have no success in the Super Bowl. Enjoy! I don't know, man.
I don't know, man.
It's so weird, because you look at this team on paper and you go, yeah, this team looks really good. And every year, it's like... I almost wonder if they're getting in their own heads at this point.
And that it could also be, this year we're going to do it. Oh, we've failed so many years, blah, blah, blah. Sploop.
And then all of a sudden something starts slowly sliding out of... Because that's what it felt like. This game started off a little poor, and then everything just went downhill so fast.
So have you ever watched the movie, The Replacements?
No, but I know what it's referring to. I know what it's talking about.
Yeah. So, in that movie, obviously, there's an NFL strike, and they're going to finish the season with replacement players.
Yeah.
And one of the things that gets talked about is, what do you fear? And the main character, played by Keanu Reeves, he says, quicksand. And they all think he means it literally, and they're like, no. Quicksand in a football sense. And it's where one thing starts to go wrong. And then another. And another. And before you know it, it's pulling you down and sucking you in. And no matter what you do, you can't help but make a mistake.
Yeah.
Like quicksand.
That's kind of that's what it felt like the game happened. Is like the one thing went down, and then all of a sudden their mentality admittedly went, "Oh, not another year like this," and then that was it.
That was it. Yeah.
It's almost
they couldn't pull themselves out of it.
Not until the fourth quarter, and then it was far too late at that point.
Yeah. So anyway, that's how I look at it, and I'm sure that's how you look at it. And I don't know what has to change, but something needs to change there. I just don't know what it is.
Some mentality has to change there, but you almost can argue that it's got to be a culture shift. But at the same time, how do you do that?
Exactly. I don't know if
with Jerry Jones there, the culture is going to be Jerry Jones.
The only way you can do it is to bring in another coaches. You would have to fire McCarthy and bring in a strong-willed coach that Jerry is willing to let have the reins.
Yeah, they've tried different coaches.
Yeah, but Jerry's never let them fully have the reins. You would need a Belichick-style coach to come in and fully install his culture and not let Jerry mess with it.
Even then, I don't think that would work. I don't know.
I kind of agree, but I don't know what else to do.
Man, a Pete Carroll would be great there, though.
Oh, yeah, if they let him have his culture.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. If they let him bring that culture, man, that would work fantastically there.
Oh, yeah.
Unfortunately.
I don't think they're going to. All right.
No.
Moving along for your evening game.
Let's talk about the actual good game of this week. Rams versus Lions. Rams lose the Lions 23-24. A 1-point difference. And frankly, this game could have been a little different if Sean McVay was a little bit more careful with his timeouts.
A little bit. Now, I will also point out...
He had opportunities.
You chose the Rams. I chose the Lions.
Yep. He had opportunities to win this game, but let's look at the stat line, and it's honestly very similar outside of one metric. So
yes.
Matt Stafford threw the ball 25 of 36, 367 yards and 2 touchdowns. Kyrie Williams ran the ball 13 times for 61 yards. Puka Nacua, 9 receptions, 181 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 fumble. It was, it is what it is, but, you have 181 yards. You're like the only person trying to play the goddamn game. DeMarcus Robinson, 3 receptions of 44 yards. Tutu Atwell, 1 reception for 38 yards and a touchdown. And Cooper Kupp, all reliable Cooper Kupp, 5 receptions for 27 yards. That hurts. That is, to me, you look at that and you look at Puka Nacua and you look at Cooper Kupp and you go, this is not what was supposed to happen. Like, Puka Nacua was supposed to have a game because he's been having games all fucking year long. But Cooper Kupp was supposed to be a reliable first, in fact, over Puka Nacua. And the fact that he hasn't been since he's come back from that injury is concerning, to say the least. Because he really has been quiet for
several
weeks. And I think that's the reason, honestly, one of the bigger reasons that the Rams just couldn't do enough. Puka Nacua was open plenty. They threw him to him plenty. But when he wasn't, who else was Stafford throwing to? DeMarcus Robinson on occasion? Atwell on an occasion? They wanted to do Higbee, but unfortunately, Higbee, even, to be honest, was, before he got injured and sidelined, he still was only a short tight end that didn't see the ball a lot. Honestly, they needed Cooper Kupp to have another good game to really push this team forward, and he just kind of didn't. And Kyren Williams still was doing kind of mostly what Kyren Williams did, but the front line of the Lions defense really kept him down. I mean, 13 attempts, 61 yards is not bad, but it's certainly not a Kyren Williams typical game.
No, he usually gets like 130 yards.
Yeah, he's normally over 100 yards for at least 1 touchdown. So, like, you know, it was very much Lions front half kept their running game down, which forced them to throw the ball more, which they did have success with, thankfully, to Puka Nacua, but no one else, basically. So, it's a little unfortunate. But let's look at the Lions. So, Jared Goff, 22 of 27. 277 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 fumble. Very similar stat line to Stafford. Not exactly. Stafford had obviously about 100 yards more, threw about the same amount of times. You know, very similar. Like, one thing we've talked about before is the fact that these quarterbacks are actually fairly evenly skilled. I would say Matt Stafford is maybe slightly better, but again, just very slightly better. Like, they're right neck and neck in that way, where it's like we're just talking very small nuances. David Montgomery had 14 rushing attempts for 57 yards, 1 touchdown. Again, similar to Kyren Williams, almost the same amount of rushes, almost the same amount of yards. Difference is Montgomery did get a touchdown, but again, short yardage touchdown. It happens. But they also had Jahmyr Gibbs that had 8 rushing attempts for 25 yards, a touchdown, 4 receptions for 43 yards. So they were able to use Jahmyr Gibbs as a wide receiver as well as a running back. Kyren Williams was not really used as a pass catcher in this game, even though we've seen him do that before, so I don't know why they didn't rely on that a bit more, since he wasn't really running the ball very well. They should have tried using him as a good pass catcher or for short, medium passes, but they didn't really adjust in that way like you would have expected. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 110 yards. I don't know how many catches he had because I forgot to write that down.
Like 7 or 8 or something,
7
12
or 8,
or
yeah.
Some ridiculous amount.
Normally I write that down, but for some reason I forgot to write that down. I wrote down his yards, but not his catches.
I will find out.
Yeah. Well, I'm pulling it up too. One of us will get to it.
7.
7 catches. That's what I thought. But he had 110 yards. Josh Reynolds cut the ball 5 times for 80 yards, and Sam Laporta cut the ball 3 times for 14 yards and a touchdown. So, this was a very close game, obviously. Even the stats, you look at them, they're pretty damn close. This was definitely Puka Nacua as a rookie trying to say, hey, I'm here, look at me. And it certainly worked. Downside is it just wasn't enough by himself and Stafford to win that game. And this is where we're coming back to the idea of, like, having a great wide receiver and a great quarterback really helps. It can really win you a lot of football games. But you can't rely on that solely to win you the whole thing. And I think that's really what happened here, is that too many of the Rams wide receivers went a bit missing. Their running back did the best he could against a really good defensive line. And the Lions just did what the Lions have been doing most of the season, which is just playing pretty solid football. Minimal mistakes, football. And that's kind of what it was. What I would classify as a Dan Campbell football game. That's what it was. Like, we're gonna have a beefy front line for the offense, a beefy front line for the defense, and we're gonna sock you in the mouth, and we're gonna beat you in the trenches.
MCDC.
And that's what's gonna win us the game. So that's really what it was. We're gonna bite you in the kneecaps, and that's exactly what they did. They bit him in the kneecaps and just did enough to win the game.
MCDC, Motor City Dan Campbell.
It was close. It could have gone to the Rams if a couple of things change, but it was a fun game to watch because it was really both teams trying to punch each other in the mouth, and one was just a little stronger today. That's really what it came down to. They had a couple people do a little bit more. You know, like I said, Amon-Ra St. Brown had a good game. Jahmyr Gibbs did pretty decently. Josh Reynolds stepped up, and it was a good secondary. And Sam Laporta was just being reliable, short yardage Sam Laporta. He wasn't asked to do a whole lot this game. Granted, he probably couldn't do a whole lot. He was wearing a brace for the entire game because of.
But he did score that touchdown.
So, it was a fun game.
All right. Let's talk about a game that got delayed.
That's true.
They had to push this game back a day because the weather decided that Buffalo needed several feet of snow. And that sounds like Buffalo on a regular winter. So
it does.
Apparently, the night before the game, the fans came in and shoveled out the stadium.
Dude, they were there in the morning shoveling up some of the stadium.
I love it. Buffalo fans, y'all are nuts. I love every minute of it. Bills Mafia, good job.
And of course, it was even funnier. Every touchdown, there was just snow in the air from the fans throwing snow.
Also, they were throwing snowballs at the Pittsburgh receivers.
They were just throwing it at the field, to be fair, but yeah.
Let's talk about it, though, because I picked the Steelers, you picked the Bills. Obviously, you won 31-17. The Steelers had no answers for one particular player, Josh Allen.
Yeah.
The Steelers could not, for the life of them, find a way to stop Josh Allen. Let's talk about it. We'll talk about the Steelers first. Also, I will say that there was a Steeler who came out after the game. I believe it was Pickens, who said, you can't fight both the Steelers and the refs. Or both the Bills and the refs.
Yeah, we'll talk about that because
there were some
fucking wrong, but that's okay.
There still weren't great calls in this game.
There was, but it happened to both sides. To say that the Bills didn't have equally some bad calls go their way is also true.
That's true.
So, like, he could make the statement that the refs were just unfair for both sides, but he's trying to make a claim that they were favoring the Bills, and that just isn't correct.
Well, I think he was saying that the refs were so bad, even though they weren't favoring the Bills, you're still having to fight them because they're making bad calls.
There was only a couple of bad calls that entire game, and frankly, with how blown out this game was, those couple of calls would not have made a single goddamn difference.
Well, Mason Rudolph, 22 of 39, 229 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. Also sacked once for 11 yards. Jalen Warren, 8 carries, 38 yards. Najee Harris, 12 carries, 37 yards. That's not Steelers football.
No. And that's what I was going to say. Like, their running game was
abysmal.
Nothing.
Pat Freiermuth, 5 for 76. Yay. George Pickens, 5 for 50. Deontay Johnson, 4 for 48 and a touchdown. The other touchdown was Calvin Austin III. Who?
Good job, you. You got a touchdown in the playoffs.
Pickens fumbled and lost it, and Muth fumbled. Does not say he lost it. Huh?
Should have lost it.
Should have lost it. Fumbled it out of bounds, apparently, according to the refs.
I don't know what they saw, but
I don't know what they saw either. I will also say that while you and I kind of disagree, because I don't think he ever had full control of the ball on the catch.
To me, it was a bang bang where it looked like there was enough. There was, put it this way, it was one of those things where it could have gone either way, but the fact that he turned upfield and then tried to extend the ball with his arm, I think that's the part that they got him on, is the fact that he tried to extend it, and that's why they called it a catch fumble.
Yeah, but I never saw the ball in his hand. That's the problem. Because
there was an angle. There was a very clear angle where he had it when he turned upfield, and he was pretty solid in it, between his forearm and his hand. Like, he was solidly in that spot for a good second.
The way I saw it was he had it like this, and he turned it. He tried to lunge forward, and the ball just slipped out the bottom.
No. So what happened is he had it when he turned and started to lunge. The ball was secured on his forearm in that grip that they have, and then when he lunged, it slipped out. So it was contestable. I can understand that to a degree, but it was one of those things where, it went against you. The Freiermuth one should have gone against you too, but instead they ruled that as your ball. So
yep.
Again, if you're going to complain about the refs, they took one from you, but they gave you another one over here. So
I will say that they definitely were hurt by the fact that T.J. Watt was not in the game. That definitely hampered them quite a bit. They still sacked Allen twice, but in the end, I don't think it mattered very much. Let's talk about that. Josh Allen, 21 of 30, 203 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 sacks for 14 yards. Cook, 18 rushes, 79 yards. Josh Allen, 8 rushes, 74 yards, and a touchdown. Had a beautiful 52-yard touchdown run.
I can't believe they let him get away with that.
Neither can I. And he looked like he might stop for a minute, did a little thing, and then he kept going, and he lowered his shoulder, and I don't know who it was, but he ran right over somebody. Left cleat.
I think it was one of the small corners. I forget which one.
I don't know, but whoever it was, just
yep.
Yeah, and then Ty Johnson also ran 8 times for 26 yards. Dalton Kincaid, 3 catches, 59 yards, and a touchdown. Stephon Diggs, hey, there he is, 7 catches for only 52 yards. But 7 catches, I'll take that. You're at least getting involved. Khalil Shakir, 3 catches, 31 yards, and a touchdown. The other touchdown was to Dawson Knox, so each tight end got a touchdown. Mm-hmm. But Kincaid has honestly supplanted Knox at this point. I think he is the number 1 tight end, and Knox is the number 2.
I think Knox is more reliable, but Kincaid's a little quicker, so hard to say.
But Terrell Bernard did recover a fumble. They sacked Rudolph once, and the interception was Kair Elam. Look, this was the Josh Allen game. Josh Allen willed the Bills to a victory. He absolutely smashed the Steelers basically on his own. He accounted for the only rushing touchdown they had, and obviously he was involved in all 3 passing touchdowns. And I mean, it was just ridiculous. Right after that fumble, that was the Kincaid one. He tossed that up over right into the back of the end zone. It was fucking gorgeous.
Yeah, I just remembered, I think the reason why Pickens was so heated at the end of the game is because, again, this wouldn't have mattered, and I don't know why he wants to make this a sticking point, but he wants to make it a sticking point, so I'm going to talk about it. Right towards the end of the game, it was pretty much final 2 minutes, or roughly within the final 2 minutes. Steelers had the ball. They were starting to move down the field a bit. Granted, they were, I think, 2 possessions back at this point, so there was almost 0 chances they had at winning this football game. But Mason Rudolph threw a ball over the middle of the field towards George Pickens. It would have been, I think, a 20 or 30-yard pickup. He clearly got interfered with. It was at the time when I watched at first, it didn't look like it might have been interference, but then I watched back the footage when they slowed it down, and like, yep, no, he definitely, the Bills guy had him around the waist.
Oh,
pulled
yeah,
him
yeah,
just a
I
little
know
bit.
exactly the
It was
play you're
definitely
talking about.
interference. Definitely
And there was
interference.
nothing. No
Wasn't
flag,
called.
nothing.
Wasn't called. And he was pissed off that it didn't get called. But here's the thing. Even if that gets called, you still aren't winning that football game. Like, you were so far behind within the last 2 minutes. I get it. I get that you're upset about that one play, and you're going to argue to me, and I'm not talking about you, but I'm talking about Pickens, that because the amount of times I watched you throw your hands up and say that you deserved a pass interference call was outrageous. You did it almost every single play, and only twice did I see any potential argument for DPI. You, sir, need to chill the fuck out. You just got wrecked by a better defense and you're mad about it.
Also, talk about heated at the end of the game. I think we need to talk about this in case you missed it.
No, I think I know where you're going.
During the post-game press conference,
Yep, I know exactly where you're going.
Mike Tomlin was asked about his future in Pittsburgh. Walked out.
Walked off.
Just walked off.
He had nothing to say about that.
Now, I will say that it has come out today that he has said that he will coach Pittsburgh in 2024.
Maybe.
Well, that's going to be if Art Rooney lets him. Is it still Art Rooney?
I think so.
The Rooney family, whatever.
The Rooney family.
The Rooneys who own it. If they let him come back, that's going to be the key.
He doesn't
now.
plan on leaving on his own.
He doesn't plan on leaving on his own. They could still fire him.
He should.
I agree at this point that his message probably has gotten stale in Pittsburgh and he should personally move on. Yeah. He's won some Super Bowls. He's done some good things. I think he needs to go somewhere else for his You know what?
For his own benefit, to be honest, yeah.
But you know what? Mike Tomlin in Dallas.
Mike Tomlin, almost anywhere would be good, to be honest with you.
But yeah, but that culture that he could bring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it won't happen, but yeah.
No, it won't. I wish. I'm not a Dallas fan, but even I'm like, that would probably be good for Dallas.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, I mean, honestly, the Steelers just got outplayed. They only barely snuck into the playoffs to begin with. I think if the Dolphins had beaten the Bills, I don't think they're in. I think it would have been the Jaguars that were the wild card at that point.
Yes, it would have been.
So, they only just snuck in. So I can't say that this result is entirely surprising. I was hoping that they could do something, but the Bills are just, they've turned it back on at the right time.
Yeah, they're getting hot again at the right time. And I tell you what, next week's matchup, that's going to be
a barn burner.
That's going to be a fun game.
Yep. So let's talk about the last game of the week. You had it.
Yep, Eagles versus the Bucks. The Bucks win over the Eagles 9-32.
We both picked the Bucks, by the way, but I don't think we expected that.
I expected it to be pretty close. I thought the Eagles had a pretty good chance at winning that game, but holy shit, this was about the... they were having a downward slump throughout the last half of the season, but this was like the epitome of hitting rock bottom. Like, it really was. So let's talk about it. Jalen Hurts, 25 of 35, 250 yards, 1 touchdown. DeAndre Swift ran the ball 10 times for 34 yards. Had 4 receptions for 32 yards. Then the one guy who decided he wanted to play football, Devontae Smith, 8 receptions, 148 yards. Julio Jones, 3 receptions for 22 yards and a fumble. Dallas Goedert, 4 receptions for 21 yards and a touchdown.
And I believe he got injured.
Who? Goddard? Yeah, I think so. I think he did. Yeah, so this was the give the ball to Devontae Smith, and even though he's got 140 yards, this was definitely a clear sign of the Bucks knew that and basically beat the shit out of him whenever he did touch the ball.
Don't forget, Jalen Hurts also accounted for his safety.
It's true. He did technically account for a safety. Granted, even if he wouldn't have thrown out the ball, he was getting sacked at the time. He would have gotten a safety either way,
Yes.
regardless if he got an intentional grounding in the end zone or not. It was funny how he tried to argue that it wasn't intentional grounding with the refs, even though it was
Clearly, very
obviously
clearly.
intentional grounding. It was kind of funny to watch, honestly. As somebody who is not an Eagles fan and kind of dislikes them for several different reasons, I thoroughly enjoyed watching this game. But I started to feel bad towards the second half because I'm like, man, if you're an Eagles fan, this probably really hurts to watch. So on that note, let's talk about Baker Mayfield. 22 of 36, 337 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 rushing attempts for 16 yards. Yeah, the Eagles defense had absolutely zero answers for Baker Mayfield whatsoever. Like, Baker was able to kind of do almost whatever the fuck he wanted against this defense, and it was kind of... It's the Baker Mayfield that everyone talked about would show up at Cleveland, who sometimes showed up and sometimes didn't. This is that Baker Mayfield. And, you know, I'll say this. He's still kind of inconsistent because that was, again, this year in general, where it was kind of up and down, but I don't know if that's necessarily Baker's fault as much as it was he stepped into a new offense. This is his first year with this team. And so I'm kind of curious to see how he'll do next year because there's no question he's staying QB1 next year.
Oh, absolutely. They have to re-sign him because he's only on a 1-year prove-it deal.
Yeah. I think he's outright proven it. He's gotten them to the playoffs, barely, but then stomped
into the divisional round.
Stomped the shit out of the Eagles, who were considered at that point, while still slumping, the favorites to possibly go back to back. So I think there's no questions he's, worth every dime to re-sign him, put him on a good 4-year deal, see what you're going to get. Because he's still definitely... the downside to Baker is that he's almost a prototype of a gunslinger. But the difference is it seems like he's learning to not throw as many picks. And so he's evolving to be more like a Joe Flacco in his prime, where he was gunslinging, but also careful in the red zone, which is what you want a gunslinger to be. And Baker is slowly turning into that, and I think he's proven himself. And I think that Cleveland, if you're Cleveland right now, you're probably going, man, I wish we would not have left off of Baker. We should have kept Baker. Deshaun was not worth the money that we paid him, not even close. And Baker has gone to several different teams and proven to be successful at different teams.
We'll talk about that in a minute. You need to finish the stats, but I do have something to say about that.
I know, but I think that's an interesting point. Rachaad White, 18 rushing attempts for 72 yards. Okay, nothing crazy, but they didn't need him to be crazy. They just needed him to do enough to ease off the offense, which is kind of what he did. Cade Otton, 8 reception for 89 yards, clearly starting to become the tight end for them to throw to, which is good. David Moore, 2 receptions for 66 yards, touchdown. Trey Palmer, 1 reception, 56 yards and a touchdown. And by golly, that was a hell of a fucking catch run. I don't know how the hell they let him do that. Mike
Forgot
Evans,
how to tackle.
Pretty much. Mike Evans, 3 receptions for 48 yards. Chris Godwin, 4 receptions for 45 yards and a touchdown. Yeah, the Eagles' defense had a hard time, but there was one particular player that got abused. His name is Bradbury III. And my God, I think you need to send him back to tackling school. Because he could not cover anybody. He could not defend a single soul for the life of him. And he certainly forgot how to tackle everybody. He got the amount of times that I watched a touchdown happen and went, who was the defender? Oh, it's Bradbury III? Makes sense. That's kind of what happened. It was pretty sad to watch, to be honest.
It was very sad to watch, to be honest. All right. That having been said,
you had a thing on Baker?
I have a thing on Baker.
Right?
There was somebody who talked with him. Said that one of the things that he got told when he came into the league was that he had to lose his moxie, his attitude, because it would not do him any favors. So he tried to suppress that. I think that's what caused him all the trouble in Cleveland. And it wasn't until he went to LA and met with Sean McVay where he told McVay that, and McVay said, "So what? Be who you are."
Yeah.
And I
I was gonna
think
say like
I
there's
don't think you'd have gotten this Baker in Cleveland because you'd have never had that conversation.
maybe that's definitely possible, but I think that you're still regretting that decision regardless.
Yes, I think you are, and I think you wonder why you couldn't have gotten this Baker. And it's probably because nobody told him that you need to have moxie as a quarterback.
Yeah, I'll put it this way. I agree that you don't want to be super aggressive and super in the face, and there's moxie and then there's overconfidence moxie, right? There's like a difference, right? I think he coming from college, he had a big chip on his shoulder. He was kind of that. He almost was a little too much, right? And I think the person was just trying to advise him to tone it down just a little bit versus not having any, right?
Yeah, and
I think he misunderstood that conversation possibly.
more than likely. But the point is, I do believe that you are correct. I believe absolutely that Baker has earned himself the starting job in Tampa, and if they let him walk, they're stupid.
Oh yeah, bring him over to the Vikings. Fuck it, let's see what happens.
Oh, dude, if they let him walk, I would throw so much money. I would give him a 4-year deal easily.
I'd be like, go ahead. Let's he's a gunslinger. He's got as strong of an arm as Kirk, in my opinion.
And he's more
his
mobile.
Deep ball's not as I wouldn't say his deep ball's as accurate as Kirk, but that's fine. You can make it work. He clearly shown it because he's throwing to fucking Godwin and Evans, who are deep threats, and he can get it to them easily enough.
And I think he's more mobile. Again, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would be on board with that.
Worst case scenario, you don't get the guy in your draft you want. You don't get Kirk Cousins. Fuck it. If he's still available somehow, because the Bucks are stupid enough to let him go, which I don't think they are. I think the Bucks are going to look at this and go, he took us to a playoffs when we didn't think we even were going to make playoffs, and then won us a playoff game, and stomped the shit out of the people they were playing against.
Oh yeah, absolutely. All right, let's pick next week, and then we'll go from there and see if we can predict out.
You don't want to do any of the other stuff first, or you want to?
Game balls and stuff. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Game balls, Inferno, potatoes.
Yep, we got all that stuff to do. All right.
Our top 10, quote unquote.
Well, we should probably tell you it's going to be top 8 with probably an honorable mention, and I think we both have the same honorable mention.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we all know who it is.
We all know who it is. Yes. Let's talk game balls, though. You want to start?
Sure, I'll start. Puka Nacua, you get a game ball, my guy.
CJ Stroud, you get a game ball.
Fair enough. Aaron Jones, as much as it hurts me, you definitely earned a game ball.
Rashee Rice, you earn a game ball.
Fair enough. Baker Mayfield, you earn a game ball.
He was my fourth one, so I'll go. Josh Allen, you earn a game ball.
Fair enough.
You can't argue with any of those choices.
No.
All of them were really good.
No, yeah. I also had Romeo Doubs on my list, but I just couldn't do it. I couldn't put 2 Packers in here for God's sakes.
I understand. Showers time?
Showers time.
Joe Flacco hit the showers.
Fair enough. I mean, it might be the last time he hits the showers, unfortunately. Najee Harris hit the showers.
Tua Tagovailoa hit the showers.
Cooper Kupp hit the showers.
Jalen Hurts hit the showers.
Tony Pollard hit the showers.
Inferno?
Sure, let's go for it.
I'm going to start off with you can go first, in fact.
You want to go first? Okay.
You can go first.
So I had a hard time with my Infernos because it was hard to find particular people or players that were 100% at fault for everything. I should have actually put on, to be completely honest with you, I should have put on Bradbury the third on here, and I didn't think about it until after I had already written my list, and I was just like, it's fine. And he should have been fucking in one of my showers too if he wasn't in here, but it is what it is. But Dolphins coaches are in the first circle because I don't know what's going on, but for some reason you have like weird issues with some games where just some games get away from you, and once the ball starts getting away from you, you all of a sudden seem to lose all confidence. I don't know if your players lose confidence. I don't know what's going on. There's a reason why you're in my first circle because I don't even know who to blame. Like, I don't know if it's OSC issue at times. I don't know if it's a defensive coordinator at times that's an issue. I don't know if it's, the sideline. Something just feels wrong with certain games. And it's typically once you let a game start running away from you, you all of a sudden just kind of just roll over and die and just let it happen. And it's weird. And I've seen it happen a couple times this season. And if you're going to be a really good football team, you can't give up on games so quickly. So I'm a little concerned.
All right. Fair enough. I can see where you're coming from on that. So I'm going to start with somebody else.
Okay.
I'm going to start with an owner. It's not the owner you're thinking of.
I mean, there's a couple I'm thinking of, but go ahead.
I've been very critical of a specific owner.
Well, it's probably one that I'm thinking of then, actually.
And that's not the one that I've got on my list.
Yeah, we'll see.
I am going to throw Amy Adams Strunk, the owner of the Titans, into the third circle.
Okay,
I think you've made.
It wasn't my first, but
I think you've made some bad choices, and I think you're going to regret firing Mike Vrabel. He may not have been the most political animal, and he probably clashed with people in your front office. But that dude is a hell of a coach. And I think you are going to regret letting him go, because whoever hires him next is getting a great coach.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't know who it's going to be, but there's a couple of open spots. And at least I just thought of it. There's a couple that could come open that he would slot right into and not miss a step. And I think that would be
Mike Vrabel at Dallas.
That's what I was just thinking of. Mike Vrabel, that would be a culture change.
To make that defense finally good, for God's sakes.
For God's sakes, they'd be so good. Okay. But yeah, I think you're going to regret that, and I don't think you're going to find another coach as good as him, because I don't think there's anybody. There's a couple that are out there, but I don't think you're going to have any chance luring in Harbaugh or Belichick. You just don't have enough pieces.
Yeah, I agree with that. All right, on to my second choice. Mike Tomlin. You're in my fourth circle. And let me tell you why. It's things we've talked about already. You've kind of been there for a while. I'd almost say overstayed your own welcome in some ways, because you can build a culture somewhere, but you can only maintain that culture for so long. You're an old school guy with new players and trying to force them into that culture too. I just wonder if sometimes that doesn't always work. I know that, I'll put it this way, with the amount of times we've seen them have specifically wide receivers that have issues is really weird. Obviously, we can look at Antonio Brown. That was weird. Then we look at Juju Smith-Schuster. That's weird. And now we have George Pickens. It seems like you can't control your wide receivers. And that's just weird. And I don't know if that's because they're younger and they're a different mindset to what you're used to, and trying to force them on your culture isn't working. I don't know if that's what's going on. But I know it's weird. And then we get into the whole idea of starting Mason Rudolph the last couple games and the playoffs, when supposedly Kenny Pickett was fine. Listen, those games went correct for you. You made them work, and then you won, and you managed to make it into your playoffs. But that easily could have also gone and blown up in your face. And the playoffs finally did, and it makes you wonder if you would have had... Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's fine. Go ahead. It starts to make you wonder if Kenny Pickett with the slightly stronger arm, maybe a little bit more gunslinger attitude, if that would have done anything different. It makes you question what was the decision to basically bench Kenny Pickett in place of Rudolph, because Kenny Pickett didn't necessarily play bad this season. He had a couple of bad games, of course, but like that happens. He overall was doing pretty good. So especially after you got rid of that offensive coordinator that you were so unwilling to move off of for so long, even though he was clearly was part of a problem. It just it makes me wonder why you're making some of the decisions you make, and I'm wondering if that's because you become kind of almost too comfortable where you're at.
Jeff Fisher.
Yeah, like I don't I don't know what else to say. Like,
Yeah. Jeff Fisher used to coach the Titans, the Oilers and the Titans back in the day. And he had a great bunch of years, took them to the Super Bowl, and just eventually he got too comfortable there and his message lost its way and you just had to move on. And he never really
Yeah.
got his mojo back.
yeah, I don't know. I think for the best thing for the Steelers and Mike Tomlin is to mutually part ways and find new adventures with new challenges and see if you can get back what was lost, because you clearly had your heyday was with Big Ben and the Steelers with Big Ben. And that's when everything was going great and you were in your prime and everything was working. And ever since then, it's been looking more and more rough. And while you can sacrifice your firstborn child to the fucking blood demon to get a 500 season every year, when is that not going to be enough for the Steelers as an organization? And when is that not going to be enough for the Steelers fans? Like, if I was the Steelers fans, I would be frustrated because, yeah, sure, you have a winning season, but like, the team didn't look great, and you squeaked into the playoffs and then got slapped. Like, I don't know.
No,
I guess,
I understand
yeah.
where you're coming from. And so what I'll say outright is I have somebody to join him down in the circle, down in the fourth.
All right, fair enough.
So joining him in the fourth circle, head coach of an organization that tailspun its way into the postseason, Nicholas Sirianni. Welcome to the fourth circle down there. You can go ahead and join Tomlin in there. Now, the reason you're in there isn't because I think you're a horrible coach. It's not because I think you're about to get fired. It's not because you've said or done anything that I think is truly offensive. I think the problem is your team started to slide and you didn't have an answer. You could not pull them out of the funk that hit them. You started 10-1 and then lost 6 of your last 7 to slide into the playoffs on your butt. You could not figure out what was wrong and you couldn't fix it. And I don't know if how much of blame falls on your coordinators and how much blame falls on you. You got a pass because you did just take your team to a Super Bowl. But that was the expectation again this year. Either NFC Championship or Super Bowl. And you got bounced as a wild card team in the first round. Changes have to come. It won't be your head on the chopping block yet. I think it'll be your coordinators are going to be gone and replaced with other coordinators. And you're going to have to figure out how to fix this team. Because you have entirely too much talent for this team to be this bad. And you really need to figure it out. Because you've got a small window and you need to make it happen. I don't know how you're going to do it. Speaking of which, because we failed to mention it during the Eagles segment, it did come out afterwards, and you're gonna have to deal with this, Sirianni, now. Jason Kelsey has told his teammates that he is going to retire. We are not surprised by this. He did kind of edge that way last year and then got talked into coming back for one more Super Bowl run. And obviously they didn't make it. And I think this time, nope, I'm finished. So now you got to figure that hole out, because that's a big hole to fill.
Oh, yeah. A good center is hard to find.
Yeah, a very good center like that. 5-time All-Pro, all the things that he's done. Yeah, a good center like that is going to be very hard to find. So this is going to be a challenge for you now. You have to replace the center, and you are going to have to work with the GM. And you're going to have to hire 2 new coordinators. And if you can't do that, I'm going to say you last maybe 1, maybe 2 more years. And if you screw up again like this, you're going to be shown the door real quick.
Oh, yeah.
There's a short leash on you now. Yes, you took them to a Super Bowl. You didn't win it, but you took them there. But with the way you guys tail-spun out the end of the season, Philadelphia fans are not forgiving. They'll forgive you if you can right the ship next year. But if you can't, you're going to be shown the door quickly sooner rather than later, my friend.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree so hard, in fact, that I have the Eagles coaches in my 7th circle. Just the collective. You know, I'm a little harder on them than you are, and I think that's because I don't remember which episode it was. I think I brought it up a couple episodes throughout the season, but the Eagles kept winning these one-score, close fucking games. And they did it several times, and I said it, that you can't keep winning games like this. It's eventually going to bite you back. And the last half of this fucking season proved, without a shadow of a doubt, that their luck ran out. People started recognizing what they were doing, and they started to kick their teeth in. And that continued all the way into playoffs with no adjustments whatsoever to speak of. And the problems were already there from the start of the season onwards, and it only grew and got worse. It got so bad that they got rid of their defensive coordinator, brought in Matt fucking Patricia because nobody seems to learn that he can't fucking coach his way out of a fucking paper bag. And look how well that did for you. The last half of the season was even worse than your front half. He came on and did worse than prior. Like, for fuck's sake, guys. Nobody seems to learn. Matt Patricia just can't fucking coach. I don't know what happened to Matt Patricia. He used to be a good defensive coordinator when he was with the Patriots way long ago. Then he went to the Lions, thought he was a godsend, did fucking nothing with only Matt Stafford trying to save his ass. And then ever since then, he's been Garbo. I don't know if that's because he's never learned to evolve, and maybe that's what it was. The game evolved past him, and he never caught up. I don't know what it is, but he certainly is not a good defensive coordinator anymore. He's definitely not a head coach. Honestly, he needs to go back to college and relearn how to fucking play defense. Like, I don't know. He just... I don't like to rally and hate on somebody so hard, but, like, it's very clear based on what he did with the Patriots and what he did with now the Eagles that he doesn't know defenses anymore. Or either that or his defenses are just easy to read now. I don't know what it is, but clearly something's wrong there.
Mm-hmm.
Offensive coordinator-wise, I mean, their play calling was pretty good for the first half of the season. The second half, it's clear that people started recognizing that the game plan was Jalen Hurts throws to A.J. Brown. And that's what their offense was. And it worked for a while. And then it became harder once people recognized that, okay, all we got to do is double and triple cover A.J. Brown and make the game a little harder. Granted, that's hard to do because he's fast as fuck. And he's really good at those fucking 50-50 contest balls. But it got even harder. And you can't, again, it's kind of like the same thing with Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. You can't rely on a really good quarterback and a really good wide receiver. You have to have good running, and DeAndre Swift, especially the back half of the year, really didn't look great.
No,
And neither did anybody else touching that ball.
oh, yeah, absolutely, exactly.
So it was one of those cases that, and of course, like we could talk about defensive players all day long, that they obviously had issues there. It's one of those things where I think this team looked, put it this way, they played way above what they should have for most of the year, and the back half played below what they should have. They should have actually probably been in the average, probably won 8-9 games, squeaked it in a wild card. That would have been more believable compared to what we got. A team that everyone was saying is going to be running back to the Super Bowl, that they have that feely magic. Well, I hate to tell you, ever since December came, your magic was fucking gone. It's because it didn't exist. You guys got lucky for a while, and you got found out, and you got slapped for it. So, I don't know what kind of changes you need to have. I worry that if Nick Sirianni, I mean, the fact that he brought in Matt Patricia as a coordinator makes me really worry about his decisions and his decision making and his ability to recognize who's a good coordinator and who's not. It draws a lot of concerns about what he's going to do next year. But I straight up say it, if they have another bust season next year, like even one like this, where they looked good and they busted out for the last half and they lose out in the playoffs again really early, he'll be done.
Yeah, you need to either win your division, and then you need to make the at least division round.
Yeah.
At least round 2.
Yeah.
If not round 3 to save your job.
Oh yeah, because like you pointed out already, this team's got way too much talent, especially on that offense, to play the way that they've been playing.
If I were the Eagles, I would hire Wink Martindale as new defensive coordinator.
That'd be a good option.
That'd be a
if
very
he
good
wants
option.
it.
Yeah, if he wants it. I'm sure he's going to have several suitors.
Heck, you know what? Reach out to Mike Vrabel. If he doesn't get a head coaching job, maybe he'll want to come on as a
There you
defensive
go.
coordinator.
There you go. You can. I
And
mean,
on
the
top of
worst
that,
he
he
can
could
tell
then-
you is no.
And on top of that, he would be a great assistant head coach too. So fuck it.
All right, so I have one more to go, and I'm going to do it.
Okay, go ahead.
I've never thought of this guy as a great head coach. I've always thought that this particular individual was buoyed by very strong quarterback play that he had no hand in actually developing. And I think he got incredibly lucky to wind up with some of the pieces he's had. And now I believe, even though he's a regular season winner, he's a postseason fraud. Mike McCarthy, welcome to the 8th Circle. Your butt should be burning right now. Look, I've had a discussion with Chris about this, and he doesn't think you're going to be gone. I think you are. I think Jerry has seen enough. You are winning a lot of games every single year. You are winning games like you should have never won games before. You are winning lots of good games for the Cowboys in the regular season. And then you get to the playoffs and crumble. Just get exposed every year. It's the same story. We can set our calendars to how often you're going to go to the first round of the playoffs and go goodbye. It doesn't matter how good the team is in the regular season, because as soon as the playoffs come, they're going to fold. And you have not been able to change that culture at all. And I think that's what it's going to take. I've never been enamored of you as a head coach. You inherited Aaron Rodgers. And like, you got lucky there. That's a Hall of Fame quarterback. As much as I disagree with his personal takes, I'm not going to disparage his talent on the field. He's talented. So, again, I honestly feel like that's a Hall of Fame quarterback. Dak Prescott, not a Hall of Fame quarterback, but way better than average. And you still can't make something out of this. You even had Zeke for some of his prime, and you still can't make something out of this. You have one of the best pass rushers in the NFL. You had a guy who led the league in interceptions, and your defense still looked lost. I don't know what to do anymore. I don't know if you're the man for the job. I think both you and Dan Quinn, as much as I like Dan Quinn, I think both of you have to be shown the door, and I think they need to bring in some new people. There needs to be some fresh blood brought in, and one of the people they need to bring in needs to change the culture of that organization. You need to have somebody who's going to come in and hold players accountable and lead and give them that mentality that like MCDC brought to the Lions, which is, we're going to get knocked down, but that's okay. Get up and punch them in the face. Then we're going to
the kneecaps.
Then it's going to take two hits to knock us down, and we're going to take your kneecap when we get up. Yeah. Loved that speech, by the way. You need a guy like that. You need an MCDC to come in and motivate the shit out of your team. And when they get down, to snap them out of the doldrums and say, hey, this ain't the same old fucking team. Let's do this shit. And Mike McCarthy's not that guy. So
guess we'll see.
I think he's gone. He should be gone. He might not be, but I am not enamored with you, and thus, just because I think that you're an X's and O's guy, I think you're a very good X's and O's guy. But you are not a team motivator, and that's what the Cowboys need right now.
Yeah, maybe.
So
I guess we'll see.
Yep. So that's my list anyway.
Fair enough.
Top 8?
Either that or hot potato.
Let's do it. Let's do hot potatoes first.
Oui.
Hot potato, hot potato, hot potato, hot potato.
Me or you first?
You can start.
Maybe Jordan Love is the guy?
I'll eat it plain because I fucking
hate
the Packers. I hate it too. So I'll eat it plain.
Like,
you know what? I'm gonna put some fucking.
You're gonna get 3 in a row. Fuck you, Packers.
I'm gonna fucking put Tabasco on it just because I need something to cover up the awful fucking taste.
Right. Fair enough.
I'm going to repeat one from last week and see what you think now.
All right.
Maybe the Texans are going to the Super Bowl?
Maybe. It's possible. The Ravens are going to be a really tough play, but they're certainly preparing themselves to look like, they could punch him in the face. So I guess we'll see. I'm not fully convinced, but man, I'm more excited about this game than I was last week. Say that much. Maybe the Bills will finally beat the Chiefs in the playoffs?
I don't know. Maybe.
Remember, they're playing in the Bills.
Yeah, Kansas City has to travel for the first time in Mahomes' career.
And the Bills get to host them for the first time at home.
I mean, I won't say it's impossible. If they are vulnerable, this is the year they are vulnerable.
That's true.
I'll say that. I'm not 100% convinced, but if there was ever a time that they looked like they had some kryptonite that was weakening that team, this is the year.
Fair enough.
Maybe the Cowboys should draft a QB?
No, I don't think
there's a plethora. Here's why. I'm not saying he needs to start this year, but there's a plethora of good ones available. Dak isn't getting younger. Don't do what the Vikings have done and not have a succession plan.
Yeah, I mean, I think Dak is going to be around for a while still. I don't, honestly, he's still pretty young. You're probably going to give him at least one more extension when this contract's out. I don't think they need to worry about getting another one now. If they did, he would be gone before even Dak is probably done, and barring injury, of course. So I don't think they really need to. Remember, they still do have Trey Lance as a prospect that they're trying to train and possibly be the next guy. I know that he's probably also a little on the older side too at this point, but like, and where they're picking at, I don't think they're going to have like that really good, even potential prospect that they're going to want. So, and I don't think they should trade up to get anybody. So,
Okay.
I don't think it would be wise. I think that they should be looking at specifically defensive players and potentially running backs, though the running backs this year look eh. So I'm not sure that's the direction you
I
want to
don't
go
have
either.
a single running back with a first round grade this year.
That's what I was gonna say. Like I don't have any that are like, oh my god, he's the guy, right? Like maybe you
I
trade
don't
for
see
one.
I
Like
don't see a single running back coming off the board before the late second round.
yeah, maybe you trade for one. Like grab Algier. He's probably not going to get as much running back space with
Or
Bijan
Pierce.
Robinson, or grab Pierce possibly. But we haven't seen a lot of Pierce recently, so we're not sure if he's still got it or not. But Algiers looked good for the Falcons when he still runs. So grab Algier.
It also
Bijan's
sounds
their guy
like
now.
it
So,
also sounds like Saquon and the Giants may be done too.
yeah, exactly. So there are plenty of options. In fact, don't grab Algier. I'd rather the Vikings take him. But that's just the way I see it. Is that I don't think Tony Pollard can carry as RB1. He's been great as an RB2. I just don't think he's an RB1.
I
It's been
wonder
kind
how
of the
much
same.
that injury fucked with him too.
It's possible too. It's kind of the same thing that I was gonna compare him to be a better version of as Madison. Madison is a great RB2. He's not a consistent RB1.
I agree with that.
So I don't know. I think it's a little early for them to be grabbing a QB for a succession plan for Dak, but it is coming up within the next couple years for sure. I just don't know you necessarily need to do it this year, but I could be wrong. I'm kind of in that middle ground where, like, yeah, I can see him doing it, but at the same time,
What I can see is if a QB falls that far,
yeah, if you happen to have a QB that you really
a
like that
Knicks
falls
or a
that far,
McCarthy
maybe,
or something falls
but
down
the
that
odds
far.
that you're gonna have somebody that far down
Yeah, I
is
agree.
pretty small. So, and like I said, I would definitely not move up to pick one.
No.
So,
You're not that
all right,
desperate.
let me throw my banger out here. It's
I got a banger
you'll,
too.
you'll like my last one here. Maybe C.J. Stroud will take the Texans to a Super Bowl as a rookie.
Hey, I'm eating that one fully loaded because I've already said they're going to the Super Bowl.
That's what I was saying. Like, I'm like, oh, he'll like this one. Like, I wrote this one as. I thought honestly, I just think the storyline of it's fun. Like, there has never been a rookie that has gone to a Super Bowl. Heck, I don't even think there's been a rookie that's made the conference championship.
You are incorrect.
I have not seen a record. I thought I looked for one, but I have not seen a rookie that started the season play and start the Super Bowl.
Okay, started the season play, no.
There might have been one that started the Super Bowl, but I still don't think he started I don't think there was a rookie that started the Super Bowl even.
Yeah, I believe there was.
I don't think so.
No, he didn't actually go that year. I thought he did, though.
I know, I had to look it up too, but I looked it up a couple of years ago when I think it was when the New England had rookie whatever his face is that's not even playing anymore. When he won his first playoff game, I was like, oh boy, maybe he is actually still good. But no. But yeah, I could not find a single rookie that I went through for any stats anyways that I could find that started the Super Bowl.
No, but there was one that started the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
You know who?
So, AFC Championship game. Was that Tom Brady that year?
Nope, 2004.
Hmm.
Tom Brady won a Super Bowl that year. Beat
Yeah.
this rookie to get there.
2004. That wasn't Peyton.
Nope.
Um.
I will give you another hint. He was drafted in the same draft class as Peyton's brother.
Phillip Rivers?
No, the other one from that draft class.
Oh, who was the other one in that draft class? Oh, shoot.
Wore black and yellow his whole career.
Well, that doesn't help much, actually.
Really? There's only one team in the NFL that wears black and yellow.
I know. I thought Big Ben was drafted earlier than that.
Nope, 2004.
Really?
Yep. He was him, Eli, and Phillip were the big quarterbacks in that draft.
Okay, fair enough.
Yep. So Ben Roethlisberger, as a rookie, he didn't start that season. Tommy Maddox started that season.
He also didn't start that season
but
either.
Ben came into that season, and then won a whole bunch of games in a row and broke all kinds of records and took the Steelers to the AFC Championship where they finally got beat by the Steelers. Although that was a 10-point game.
Yeah.
That was a close game.
Yep.
And then and then he won a whole bunch of he won 2 Super Bowls as well. So
Exactly. So Stroud is looking good. He'll be the first, if he makes it to the championship, he'll be the first rookie that started the entire year to then also start in the AFC Championship, and he certainly would be the first rookie to start in a Super Bowl.
I believe so. Yes.
That would be fun as hell, and man, would that piss the Panthers off so much. It would be so delicious, because every rumor that I heard is that the Panthers some of the coaches wanted Stroud, but Tepper was the one who wanted fucking Bryce Young. And man, would that not be the icing on that fucking cake.
All right, my last one is super duper duper spicy, and I know you're going to just pass it off on just how you are.
Okay.
But you know what?
If you say anything about Green Bay going to the Super Bowl, I'm going to slap the shit out of you.
No. It's a different team that you hate.
Okay.
Maybe the next head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles is Bill Belichick?
I think the only way that happens is if Bill decides not to coach this season because he doesn't like his prospects. And then Nick Sirianni just has another shit year or just mediocre year, and they end up letting him go. And then he could come in. It's not an impossible thing. I find it unlikely. Because I haven't really heard enough word that it sounds like Nick Sirianni, he's on the hot seat with the fans, but as far as I'm aware of organization,
I haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard anything that would indicate that they have any desire to move off of him this year. So it has a potential, because this is one thing I did also think about. I did wonder if Belichick would even take a coaching position this year, if he decided that he just wanted to have a year off to just rest and recoup, potentially.
Yeah.
I thought that was actually a possibility, that he might just decide not to coach for anybody this year.
I mean, I suppose.
And see what next year brings, in which case that is possible. I'm not convinced of it, because if I was Bill, I would heavily be looking at the Chargers, to be honest, and I'm surprised that their Chargers haven't called him up yet, to be honest.
They might have.
It seems like they might have. It's possible, yeah.
Because I have breaking news.
Oh, okay.
The Atlanta Falcons have just announced that they have interviewed Harbaugh for their open head coaching position.
Oh, so they also interviewed him?
Yep,
Yeah.
they've also interviewed him now. Anyway,
Which
continue.
makes sense. So that's where I would be eyeing as a potential possibility. even the Titans wouldn't be that bad of an option in some cases because you have a young QB who looks like he might be good, and you have a decent core and unit there. So maybe you decide to go that route. Falcons is a weird one. Outside of like maybe you decide you can pick the QB you want. Maybe you don't like the fact that Herbert's already at the Chargers for some reason. Maybe you don't like Will Levis for some reason. And you decide that you want to pick your own guy, which fine, I guess, but the Falcons don't exactly have a high draft pick for that, so I'm not sure how that's going to go.
They're like 7th.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you're not going to necessarily maybe get the guy that you want, so I'm not sure what you're going to do there. Granted, you have Bijan, so maybe that's one of the enticing factors is, oh, Bijan's here, because, Bill Belichick loves his running game. So maybe that's enough to entice him to go to the Falcons.
And that's the thing, because you've got Bijan, who reminds me a lot of like a Danny Woodhead, or one of those multi-purpose backs that Bill loves.
Loves, exactly, yeah. And that defense is actually not that bad. There's enough pieces there that you can easily train and work
Bates,
with.
Terrell, yeah.
Yeah. So maybe that's more interesting of a prospect to him than I personally think it is. I'm mostly concerned about QB, to be honest there, but who knows? So I'll pass on it just from the fact that I think that there's a good chance he picks a coaching job this year, and I don't think the Eagles' head coaching job will be available this year. Put it that way. Plus, man, I would really hate to see them two together. Fuck me. God, I'd hate that so much.
At least it would give you a reason to really hate them.
Oh, God. It'd be so bad.
All right. Power rankings?
Sure.
I'll start. Honorable mention, LA Rams. You guys almost won that.
Very well could have.
I'm sure you have the same person right there.
I was going to say, I'm not even going to say,
so,
it's exactly,
Number 8.
Eh?
The Kansas City Chiefs. Look, I know that was a harsh game. I know the weather was cold. But out of all the teams that played and won, to me, your victory was the least impressive. I expected you to win that game, and you did.
That's fair. At 8, I have the Kansas City Chiefs as well. It just came down to the fact that, like, you won, but it didn't really look good. Granted, the weather wasn't great, but even then, it looked like you beat up on a Dolphins team that for some reason didn't really show up to play very well. And I don't know if that's because of the weather. I don't know if that's, like I said, due to the fact that they got their foot in the bucket early and then they just kind of fell apart. But you didn't really look dominant either. Like, the score makes it look better than it really was to watch. Put it that way.
Also, the most important question was asked at halftime, and Andy Reid was aware that he had icicles in his mustache.
So he did, in fact, look like a walrus.
He did, in fact, look like a walrus. Number 7, I have the Green Bay Packers.
Okay.
Look, I didn't really think you were going to win in Dallas, and you dominated in Dallas, but you let them back in at the end of the game. So I could have put you a little higher, but I chose not to, partly because I hate you, and partly because you let them back into the game.
That's fair. At number 7, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You looked really good, don't get me wrong. But, like, almost everyone else above you looked either as equally good or better. So it's kind of hard for me to really bring you that high up, to be fair. And also, to be fair, you weren't even on my list last week. So, congrats, you got on my list.
At number 6, I have the Buccaneers. That was an impressive win. I think I'm more impressed by the fact that you held the Eagles to 9 points.
That's fair. But here's the thing, the reason why I kept him a little lower is because, like, the Eagles looked like crap the last 4 weeks anyways. So
They
I've
have,
kind
but
of,
still, that was
so
a
I don't give it
total
as big of
domination of
a,
that team.
yeah, I just don't give it as big of a margin because of how bad some of those other games
Yeah, I
were.
can
So.
understand.
At number 6, I have the Green Bay Packers, and it hurts me to say that, but honestly, you dominated the shit out of a team that should have dominated the shit out of you. And the Cowboys looked like a better opponent overall comparatively to the Eagles, to be fair. And you still shit stomped them. And while you did let them back in the game, towards the end is what I expected more of the Cowboys in the first place. So you'll still beat an opponent that I think overall was definitely a higher caliber than you were. And so you got a little bit of higher merit over the Bucks. And that's, small margins. Difference of opinion.
At number 5, I have the Detroit Lions and MCDC. The only reason that you're 5 is because the teams above you looked way more impressive. I'm not saying that what you did wasn't impressive. It certainly was. Congratulations on winning your first playoff game since 1991. And winning the first playoff game you hosted in Ford Field. Also, you're going to host another one next week when the Buccaneers come to town. Good luck. But you should win that one. But yeah, you're impressive. Show me just a little more.
Understandable, I guess. At 5, I have the Buffalo Bills. I still have some concerns here and there, like Josh Allen shouldn't have to run that much, and he really probably shouldn't be running that much, because that's how you get injured. But, you're damn good. You looked really good. We'll see if this was just a really good game. Let's be honest, you played the Steelers. Like, everyone expected you to win that
TJ
game.
Watt.
Without TJ Watt, yeah. Everyone expected you to win that game, and you did exactly what was expected of you. So you're at 5. You didn't impress me. You did exactly what I thought you were going to do.
At number 4, I have the Bills. Pretty much the same reasons. They were just a tiny bit more impressive, but I still don't think you can throw everything on Josh Allen.
At number 4, I have the Texans. You guys showed up and bitch slapped the fuck out of a really good defense. And if you show up again in that way against the Ravens, you are going to really give them a run for your money. The problem is your defense going to be able to be just as good against how good their offense is? Because let's be honest, the Ravens' offense is 100% better than the Cleveland's offense. And so I'm only a little concerned on that end. But man, you look really good. So you made it into 4. Congratulations, you finally got out of my bottom 5.
Number 3, the Texans. Same reason. You bitch slapped the fuck out of what is a good defense. You know what, though? You're going to need Will Anderson Jr. to show up and play his mind out to beat the Ravens.
Oh, yeah.
You're also going to need Stingley to be back there and not miss a beat. Good luck. It's going to be fun to watch.
At 3, I have the Detroit Lions. And the reason why I have them up here is because their caliber of opponent, I think, is far higher than a lot of people rate them for. I think the Rams play just about almost anybody else in this playoffs and probably wins, to be honest with you. I think they play against the Cowboys, they win that game. I think they play against the Bucks, they definitely win that game. Like, the Rams are highly underrated, and so I think the Lions beat a really difficult opponent, especially given the context of Matthew Stafford coming back into Detroit and that being in his old home. I think that was just added pressure for the Lions, and they managed to come away with a very difficult win. And I think the Lions are far better than that score looked like, just because of the fact that was a really hard game, tooth and nail fought. And because of that, they're at my 3 spot. Like, they worked really hard for that win, and they won it.
All right. At number 2, I have the Baltimore Ravens. You guys, again, you got to buy. I really, you could swap 1 and 2 for me. To be completely honest, you could. They are interchangeable, and I don't know who I like more at any one point in time. And I'm sure you're kind of in the same boat. Um, let's be honest, they have a really good defense. They have a great quarterback who could win MVP this year. Even though they lost a running back early this season, they didn't skip a beat. They've managed to get their wide receivers all catching balls. They lost Mark Andrews and then found a likely new candidate. Ha!
I hate you.
My wife would hate that too. But, you got Isaiah Likely. And that will never not be fun for me to get into. I love it. But, you are a great team. Are you the best team? I don't know. And if the Texans show up and play like they did last week, you're going to have to prove that you're the best team, or you ain't winning that game.
Yeah. At 2, I have the San Francisco 49ers. I just swapped your 1 and 2, frankly, with my 1 and 2. Like, you really could interchange these because we didn't get to watch them play because they're the first seeds in their equal division, or conference, I should say. So we know that they're very good teams. As to why I put the 49ers here instead of the Ravens is that I think the Ravens are... I think that they have a little bit of a higher ceiling ability. Not necessarily that they're always there. So I'll put it this way. 49ers have a higher floor, where I think the Ravens have a slightly higher ceiling. And it all comes down to the fact that I think the QB for the Ravens adds that extra unpredictability, where even though Brock Purdy is really good, he's very consistent, where Lamar can be amazing. And that's the only difference, is that they get a slightly higher ceiling due to that extra potential from Lamar. But that doesn't mean that they're always going to be at their ceiling, of course. So, hard to say. It depends on the Ravens of any given day. We've seen them have great, amazing games, and we've also seen them have just good games. They don't have bad games. They don't even have mediocre games. They just have good and amazing games, where the 49ers are consistently really good, put it that way. And so I give that slight edge to the Ravens, only very slightly. And, I can say the same thing for the 49ers going against the Packers. Like, 49ers, in theory, should smack the shit out of the Packers. But if the Packers show up like they did against Dallas, I'll put it this way. Don't look at them as a 7th seed. Look at what they did. Just because their record looks like they shot the bed, because they kind of did for a while, they're getting hot, and they're getting hot at the exact moment when they need to get hot. So treat them like a really good opponent, and you'll be okay. But if they basically underestimate them, I think they'll get socked in the mouth. Difference is I think the 49ers will be able to recover where the Cowboys wouldn't be able to. But that game might end up being closer than I think some people expect. Now, it could very well turn out the 49ers prepare exactly how they should, because it's Shanahan, and he's really good at doing that, and he typically doesn't underestimate his opponents. But as long as he can get his players to buy into that, I think that they should easily cruise through the Packers, but we'll see.
And I have the Niners up there because I think, in my opinion, they have 2 really good runners and 4 excellent receivers, and a quarterback that can distribute the ball well, and their defense is dominant. And if everything goes the way that it has in the past, the Packers will beat the Cowboys and then lose to the Niners. That has been,
unfortunately, that has been like the
trope in the NFC. So, if this is anything like past years, they're going to beat the Cowboys, lose to the Niners, and the Niners are going to win the NFC.
Man, both teams are cursed to never get that far then, are they?
Yeah, it's one of those things. And then the Niners will lose to somebody in the NFC Championship game.
Lions?
Maybe.
It could happen. That would be crazy, though.
That would be psychotic, and I'm there for it. I'm there for a Lions-Texans Super Bowl.
Oh my god. I know who I'd be rooting for at that point, though.
The Texans.
Oh, absolutely.
100%.
Listen, I feel bad for the Lions, but they're in our division. Fuck them. Now they were good.
Yeah, no, exactly. But you know what? You finally made it there. Congratulations.
Well, they haven't made it there yet, but we'll see.
No, not yet. But that would be a lot of fun.
That'd be hilarious.
Anyway, no. So I like the Niners just a little better. I think their defense is just a touch better, in my opinion. And I think their offense just has, like, you're right, Lamar adds an extra level of unpredictability, but you've got at least 2 players on the Niners offense that can do the same thing with CMC and Ayuk. They can run it, they can catch it, you don't know what they're going to do with it, and then you've got, what's the name of the other wide receiver they've got that's...
Debo.
Debo can get out there and get it done. Like, he can also run it if he needs to. And you've got fucking their tight end, Kittle.
Which they haven't had to rely on nearly as much as they used to.
No. And so that whole thing, though, any one of them could go off at any moment. And you don't know who it's going to be. And I think that, to me, is more dangerous than Lamar.
Yeah, but Lamar also has great players on his team, too. I mean, you have a Zay Flowers, who's definitely coming as a big, deep threat for him. They have likely, as you pointed out, as a fantastic tight end, more than they expected. And then, of course, they still have,
Gus Edwards.
Surprisingly enough, Odell is actually playing well for that team. So,
yeah. I mean, I just like the weapons a little more. Anyway, that's just me.
Fair.
All right, well, next week's games?
Sure.
And then we'll predict out. I'll do an NHL thing, and we'll wrap up.
Sounds good to me.
All righty. Because I actually do have a small hockey corner I wanna rant about a little bit.
Okay.
Alrighty, next week's games. Divisional round. We'll start Texans at Ravens.
This is one of those really hard ones for me because I want the Texans to win. But I don't know if they can overcome the Ravens. Ravens are such a good team. And containing Lamar is going to be almost impossible for that team. But is that enough? Obviously, the weapons for the Texans, you have Nico Collins, who's going to get covered like crazy. I don't know. I really want to pick the Texans. I really want to see C.J. Stroud make his way all the way to a fucking Super Bowl as a rookie, because that would just be a fantastic story. But it doesn't mean it'll happen. Oh, man. It's honestly kind of a tough choice. I think the Ravens are the more likely and definitely probably favored team, if I were to guess. But I'm going to pick the Texans just because. Just because. No particular reason. Just because.
I will also pick the Texans. I just have a feeling. Call it in my gut. Packers at Niners.
I mean, the 49ers should win that game. I think the Packers will do a pretty good job at making it a game, surprisingly enough. But that's definitely the 49ers.
I agree. Bucks at Lions.
I would love to see the Lions win. Just because, again, the storyline of this team that could never get it going and finally has got, a home playoff win. And now they get to host another home playoff. And maybe finally make it to a Super Bowl. But I don't think it'll happen. And I think the Bucks are going to win that game.
I disagree. I'm sticking with you, Motor City. I'll roll with the Lions. And finally, Chiefs at Bills.
You know what? I'm tired of seeing the Chiefs in the playoffs. I think this is the Bills' time. Finally, they get Chiefs at home. I think this is where the Bills finally get that trump over the Chiefs. Finally, they do it. The Bills win.
I'm going to disagree. I think there's just too much Chiefs. Too much Mahomes. Too much everything. They're already used to playing in cold weather. Being on the road isn't going to affect them. I say the Chiefs win in Buffalo.
All right, we'll see. We'll see. I kind of want the Bills to finally win this and finally prove that they can get past the second fucking round in playoffs because they just never can. I feel bad for them.
All right, so let's predict out from here, shall we?
All right.
So, I'll let you start. If your scenario happens, you will have
the Texans versus the Bills.
Texans versus the Bills.
AFC.
Who wins that game?
I think the Bills are the most likely in that case, but I'm actually going to pick the Texans because I think if they manage to beat Baltimore, they're going to be going into that game riding fucking high. And I think that momentum might carry them over that finish line there.
Okay.
Making the Texans to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
That means that my NFC Championship game would be the 49ers versus the Bucks.
Yep.
In which case, Bucks would finally falter because the 49ers are just too tough. And the 49ers would then make the Super Bowl. Making my Super Bowl the 49ers versus the Texans.
Who wins?
Fuck it. Just for the funsies of it, the Texans win. I don't think they will in that scenario, but it would be fun.
All right. In my scenario, I would have the Texans facing the Chiefs, and this is where Mahomes goes down. The Texans chase him all over the field. C.J. Stroud leads the Texans into the Super Bowl. And I have the Lions versus the Niners. I would love to pick the Lions and send them into the Super Bowl. And I'm going to do it. The Lions upset the Niners going into the Super Bowl, and then the Texans win the Super Bowl, beating the Lions.
We both have the Texans winning the Super Bowl. That's fucking mad, dude.
We're insane.
Can you imagine if that actually happens, though?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
C.J. Stroud would be considered, right off the bat, a GOAT. Like, right off the
right off the bat.
Man. And I also completely forgot that this is a rookie head coach too, DeMarco Ryans. This is his first year, which would make it. I don't think has there been a rookie head coach in the Super Bowl. I don't think there has been either. That I can think of, anyways. I guess it's not impossible.
I don't think so.
God, that would be crazy.
All right.
Oh, man.
So, what did I want to talk about in Hockey Corner real quick here? Well,
what do you want to talk about with hockey? You tell me, sir.
I want to talk about the Ottawa Senators.
Okay.
The poor, poor, poor Ottawa Senators. This is a team that is going nowhere fast. At least this season. And the sad part of it is, they weren't meant to be like this. This was a team everybody thought this year had turned a corner. Everything was supposed to be better. And it has not been. It has been a very poor year. Hi, Loki.
Finally made a showing.
It has been a very, very poor year if you are a Senators fan. Their goaltending has been crap. Their goal scoring has been crap. Their defense has been crap. Even their big name players have been crap. So, I don't need to talk about it because their owner, Michael Landauer, their president and GM, and their assistant GM were all up in a press box, and they got him on film making this face. You know, the sour milk face.
I'm not approving of this.
Changes are about to happen. Now, the problem is, who can you trade that has any value? Because most of their roster doesn't. And you've got a 32-year-old winger in Vlad Tarasenko who signed to a $5 million one-year deal. I mean, maybe you can move him at the deadline. That's not impossible. You've got Giroux, but you kind of don't want to move him because he's from the Ottawa area. And he's 36. And he's got 2 years at $6.5 million left. So you really don't want to move him unless you don't have a choice. But how are you going to find anybody to take a 36-year-old? Especially on that contract. However, you do have a core group of guys who are all 25 and younger that maybe need to go. At least one of them. Okay, so let's talk about the one that I think might be likely to go, and that is Drake Batherson. He is a winger. He's on a $4.975 million contract for the next, through 26-27. He'll be a free agent 27-28. And he's only 25 years old. That is not horrible and is eminently tradable. You need to bring in a goalie for him, obviously. But you need to bring in a haul for him. Whatever you trade, you need to get a good grouping for. Because this team has to rebuild. Because the other three guys, I don't think you can trade any of them. And if you traded one of them, people would riot. And the other two have entirely, in my opinion, unmovable deals. So let's talk about the one that fans would riot about. And that is your captain, Brady Tkachuk. The brother of Matthew Tkachuk. Brady is a left winger, and he is all of 24 years old. He is currently signed up to an $8.2 million contract that will take him through 27-28, and he'll be a free agent again in 28-29. He's got a 5-year deal right now. And again, he's been the identity of your team. I don't think you can trade him. But you might have to, because the other two guys that you could trade that would get you about a bunch of stuff are Tim Stützle, who's a center, and centers are hard to come by. He's only 22, and he has an 8-year deal at $8.35 per. That's a lot. I don't think you could trade that. And he's only 22. You might be able to, but it would be eminently dumb. The other one is Josh Norris, a center, who's only 24. He's got 7 years at $7.95 million. Again, that contract is too long to really move. What else can you do? Well, you've got Thomas Chabot on defense, who's only 26. He has a 5-year deal at $8 million even. That isn't horrible, but it's not really tradable. Then there's a guy you traded for last year, and I think you could flip him. Jacob Chikrin. He's only 25, and he's on a very pleasing 2-year deal at only $4.6 million. That is a movable asset. I don't know if they want to move him, but they may not have a choice. That may be a guy they have to come off of. Outside of that, you really don't have much else. You've signed, foolishly, Jonas Korpisalo to a five-year, $4 million deal, and his numbers basically make him unplayable this year. Look, I get it. He was decent last year in Columbus and with the Kings. I mean, he had a .913 save percentage in Columbus, and then he had a .921 with the Kings, and then he was in the playoffs. He only had an .892 there, but it wasn't horrible. This year, he's actually putting up in 884. Ugh. So that's unplayable, but you've got him for 5 years. I mean, I don't know. Your roster is the worst kind of roster. There are 4 types of NHL teams. Good on purpose. Your roster is constructed to be good, and you are good. Good on accident. You don't know how you got here. Lightning in a bottle. Bad on purpose. We're tanking, and we know it. Bad on accident, which is the absolute worst thing you can be. We're supposed to be good, but we suck, and we have no assets. That is where the Senators are, and they're going to have to change that. And I think it's going to mean blowing up their core group. And I don't know who's going, but at least one of those 4 is going. Probably Chychrun as well. They have absolutely to change that culture. They don't have another option. They have to bring in new players. They have to jettison old ones, because right now they've been rolling with the same core for years, and they're getting nowhere. And the definition of insanity is repeating the same thing and expecting a different result. And that's kind of what they've been doing. With a new owner finally, though, and a new GM, they may finally make some moves and blow some stuff up. And I think they're going to be very interesting to watch at the trade deadline, because I think there's going to be a fire sale of assets. And it's going to be interesting to see what they can bring back, and if they can just start a rebuild, tear it down and build it back. And it's going to be interesting to see what assets they place value on to keep. Because I would hate to say this, but I would keep Stützle because he's only 22. And you've got him until he's 30. That's a fantastic deal. Anyway, that's my little hockey corner rant about a sports team. So, let's talk hockey power rankings, shall we?
Sure.
You have any thoughts about what I said?
I have no thoughts about it whatsoever.
Okay. I didn't... if you had ideas, I didn't want to kill you on them.
No, I don't follow enough hockey to be able to really give a lot of concise points outside of what you say, so...
Well, I will also point out... I do want to point out one more thing. And I thought it was very appropriate. And I was very happy with it. Recently, the Arizona Coyotes visited Minneapolis. They did beat the Wild 6-0.
Yeah, that hurt.
But they brought back with them an old friend, Matt Dumba. And they gave him a video tribute, the Wild did, and he got an applause from the crowd. Very classy. I was quite happy with that. I was not happy with the result of the game.
God, no.
However, the other night we did pound the crap out of the Islanders 5-0, so that was much better. All right, number 10, the Vegas Golden Knights. I think they have issues at goalie, and I think Eichel is hurt. They are 25-14-5 with 55 points. In their last 10, they are 4-6. They're starting to slip. Again, I think they're dealing with a lot of injuries, though. Number 9, the New York Rangers. From 1 a few weeks ago all the way down to 9 now. They are 27-13-2, 56 points. In their last 10, they are 4-5-1. Something ain't right there. You guys have got to get that figured out. Number 8, the Dallas Stars. They are 25-12-5 at 55 points. In their last 10, they are 5-4-1. You're still winning, but it ain't pretty. However, good news, Ottinger's on his way back. Number 7, the Philadelphia Flyers. 24-14-6, 54 points. In your last 10, you are 5-3-2. I keep waiting for you guys to drop, and you just keep not doing it. Well, I don't know, are you for real? Number 6, the Carolina Hurricanes. 24-14-5, 53 points. Last 10, 7-2-1. You guys flipped the switch. You're going. You're moving. Good job. You keep playing like this, you got a shot in the East. Number 5, the Colorado Avalanche, 28-13-3, 59 points. Last 10, 7-2-1. You guys are playing good hockey right now. You're playing very good. I wouldn't want to go against you. Number 4, the Florida Panthers, 27-13-3, 57 points. Last 10, 8-1-1. You guys are still just absolutely crushing people. Keep it up. Number 3, the Boston Bruins, 26-8-9, 61 points. Last 10, 6-1-3. You're starting to put it together again. You're starting to play full games again. Good job. I would not have expected you to still be this good after losing both Bergeron and Krejci. Number 2, the Vancouver Canucks, 29-11-4, 62 points. Last 10, 7-2-1. What do you say? This is a team that couldn't buy a win last year, and this year they are a dominant wagon. And number 1, the Winnipeg Jets, 28-10-4, 60 points. Last 10, 8-1-1. You have the best goalie in hockey right now in Connor Hellebuck. I'm not even going to bother trying to come up with anybody else. I'm also going to ask, how do you trade one of your best players in Pierre-Luc Dubois and get better? I don't know how you managed it, but you did. All right. So, I did see you put up the second set of Friend Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
So 4, 5, and 6 are out now for anybody that wants to watch those. And you've been continuing your Sekiro playthrough.
Correct.
Have you been
actually almost done up? I was gonna say I'm almost done uploading my first Sekiro playthrough. I have only 2 more episodes to upload, which will hopefully go up tomorrow at some point, probably later in the evening. Because in fact, tomorrow I am going to stream again because I am starting to run out of content.
I was about to ask, so does this mean you're going to start streaming again?
Yep, I'm going to start streaming again tomorrow. I only have, I think, 4 episodes, or 4 streams, I should say, of New Game Plus. And considering the fact Sekiro took me 7 streams to get through, I imagine that it'll take less time. Considering the fact I'm already near Fountainhead Palace. If you know, you know. If you don't, that's fine. But I'm pretty much near the end of the game, or close to the end of the game. So I'll probably be done within the next stream or 2, probably 2. Because the last boss is probably still going to take me like 2 fucking hours to beat. So,
when you sent me that text, I laughed, by the way.
Dude, I legit split that. Like, those are the last 2 episodes. Is just me fighting the last boss. Like, that's all the last 2 episodes are. So, we will see how that goes. But I should be done within 2 streams. And then, I still plan on getting the last 2 endings, but I'll probably be doing those on my own time. I will still record what I do, but for those, but I probably will not like upload every single one and break it down as like an episode. What I'll probably do in those last ones is probably just upload a compilation of like things that happened during the game, because I'm getting very secured out. One of the reasons why I haven't been streaming for a bit in the first place is the fact that like I'm looking at it going, I have to go back and play Sekiro. Not that I dislike it. I don't dislike the game. It's just, I have to. I'm near the end of the game, and this is where things start getting like really annoying. And fuck. So it's,
no,
like,
I understand. I understand.
But I really want to beat the game because I want to see that other ending, and I've heard that the ending I got was basically the basic ending, and I want to see what one of the good endings is like, or I should say the better ending, anyways. The problem is that I'm at the point where I had to fight Owl again as Father Owl, which is a harder fight. And I know that's going to take a while to get through. And then I can finally go to Fountainhead Palace and fight the damn fucking corrupted monk. And it's just, yeah, I'm at that point where I just know things are just, it might end up being 3 streams just due to the fact that, like, I don't know how long it's going to take me to beat some of these bosses.
Gotcha.
But after that, I I will be starting up a new game to stream and start uploading to YouTube. I haven't decided which one I'm going to do. It's either going to be Bloodborne or it's going to be Wulong Fallen Dynasty. I kind of want to save Bloodborne just because I have already played some of it, so I kind of know what it is. And I have seen absolutely nothing on Wulong Fallen Dynasty outside of I know people have played it, and some people have said it's good. So I know nothing of like the story. I don't know how linear it is. I don't know how open it is. I don't know jack diddly squat about that game outside of it's a Souls-like game. And there's other games that I would like to put on my list to play at some point. Obviously, Neo is one of them. I would like to play Neo and Neo 2, especially because of the fact I know that they're very likely developing a Neo 3. They haven't announced it, but I would be shocked if they aren't. And there's other games that are coming out that are just interesting me that I kind of want to jump into at some point too. So we'll see how that goes. I'm sure there are other Soulsborne games or Souls-type games that I haven't played or haven't touched that I could also play outside of those as well. But those are the ones that I currently have access to, of course, that I have. Wulong is on Game Pass, which I have, and that's not a big deal. And I already have Bloodborne, so I don't have to buy anything. Unfortunately, with everything else, I would have to buy it, and that's unfortunately what I'm worried about is what's going to come to is that eventually I'm going to finish these games. And I'm still not going to have money to buy anything, so I'll have to find a different game to play. What that game would be, I don't know. I know Persona 3 Reloaded is coming to Game Pass, and that might be something I might dive into, but that's one of those games that I'm not sure that I want to actually stream because I just enjoy playing those games on my own time at my own leisurely pace. I still haven't even beaten Persona 5. Like, I have so many save files of starting over and shit, but I still have yet to ever finish the fucking game. Which is what I've been trying to do recently, is I've been actually in my own time playing Persona 5 and trying to finally finish that goddamn game. And I think I'm, based on everything I know, because I've somehow have stayed spoiler free from that game. I don't know how. I don't know the ending. I don't know who the bad guy is. I know nothing. So somehow I've stayed spoiler free of that game. So I don't know how far I actually am. But based upon what it looks like, I think there's one more party member that I get that I don't currently have. Actually, technically two, because I have Persona 5 Royal, so I know that there's technically two. But one that I haven't actually met or have ever gotten in the game yet. I think I just met her in the game that I just started, so we'll see. So I don't know how that goes. I don't know if you played Persona 5. I don't know if
my wife has beaten it.
Okay.
And I have watched her play it. So
it's
I
the
do
chick
know
with the pinkish hair. I just saw her and met her. I don't know who she is. I'm pretty sure she is. You don't know either? Yeah, okay.
Oh, I do.
Okay.
If it is who I think it is,
she's like towards the end of the game. So,
yes.
And I know that she's the Empress one. I don't know what persona she has. I haven't even seen that. I literally just met her. Yeah, I literally just met her. So we'll see how that goes. I know that the one chick from Royal that's on there I don't have yet, but I know you can get her later as long as you're on the quote-unquote true ending, which I don't know if I am, and I don't know how to do that, and I'm trying not to follow a guide because I just want to experience it before I try that, so maybe I might not ever get on that path, and I won't get her as a character, which would kind of be sad, but it is what it is. We'll see how that goes. I've also been playing through the Yakuza games. That might be something I could stream, but some of those are really fucking weird. I think I'm on 5 right now.
we had a whole discussion about how those are weird.
Yeah, I would love to play the new one, which is what is it? It's Infinite Wealth, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth. I would absolutely love to play that game. Unfortunately, it's not coming to Game Pass, at least not from release, and I don't have the money to buy it right now. If I did, that would be a game I would definitely stream because I loved 7. the original Yakuza Like a Dragon, which they're all going to be called Like a Dragon now, in case you weren't somehow familiar with that. So, yeah, I guess we'll just see how things go. I think I'll probably start Wulong instead of Bloodborne, but I could be convinced if there's people that would prefer to see Bloodborne instead. So I guess we'll see how that goes. But I have to first finish my second playthrough of Sekiro, which... I like that game, but God, it's hard. And I've also been working on my full retrospective breakdown of Liza P, which is starting to get really long. Specifically the story, because I'm trying to figure out how to talk about the story, because there's several stories happening all at once, and then there's hidden stories that are kind of are background, or I should say background stories that are also happening through items and side character stories, and trying to find a way to break that all down and talk about it all is starting to really fuck with my brain. And so I'm trying to figure out the best way to do that. So I've actually rewritten parts of that script a couple times now, because I just don't know how I want to approach it. I think how I'm going to approach it is just by talking about the main story first, just like go through the main plot points first, then talk about the side stories, the side character stories to completion, and then talk about some of the background lore of some of the characters. I wanted to do it like as you would experience it, like from beginning to end, but I just don't think that comes out good in a video. Like, I think it comes out a little weird, because it's like one of those things where I'd be like, okay, don't forget about this point, because we're going to talk about this point in 30 minutes from now. Like, so I think it'll be better to just like tie all of the pieces that belong together all together, and then just talk about them as like small sections of each other. I think that'll be the easiest way to talk about everything, or try to tie everything together. I think it'll still be a little weird and hard to do, but I think it's the best way to do it. I don't know. It's going to be a while before that video even comes out, because I have to finish writing it. I have to then record it, record my voiceover. Then I'm going to record a voiceover with my camera on, so that I can use me talking and have my face available to insert in cuts or whatever I want to. Then I have to record B-roll footage, basically, so that way I don't have to use my stream footage, because I don't want to have me talking over myself, because that would be really weird. And then I have to get B-roll footage of like the weapons, and talking about, because that's one of the things I want to talk about too, is like gameplay mechanics. So talking about how things work in game and showing them off, and then the weapons and how some of that weapon systems work, and how the unique weapons, and yeah, there's a lot still to do. That video is, I thought it'd be something that I could get done in a month, but no, that's a several month video, I think. Like, with everything else going on, I just don't think I could realistically get that out
I understand.
a very fast fashion and make it good. So, yeah, that's kind of what I've been working on. Let alone the fact that I need to find an actual job to make money, which I still, because this isn't making money. I need to actually find a job. And that'll then start eating into that time. Yeah. So there's just a lot going on. A lot going on.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of the end of this episode.
Episode titled, A Lot Going On.
A lot going on. You know what? That's probably what it's going to be titled. Just a lot going on.
A lot going on.
And we will let you all off the hook there. We will say that we hope that whatever you guys put your mind to, whatever it is that you think you can do, you get accomplished. And if you didn't accomplish it yet, hey, keep your mind at it. You'll get there eventually. In the meantime, we'll tell everybody we hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. We'll see you back here next week for the divisional round wrap up. And until next time, peace.